have every Sunday morning. Maplewood and the smoke, like a spirit, we feel it, it's taking us under. Any fire will stoke, find the answers that had their meaning. Windy was like the roads, if we dream it, believe it, we'll fall into wonder. Walk with me, talk with me for a little bit, let's get into it. Walk with me, high times, low key, a minute down. Lay back, afternoon chills, Eastside dad's getting lost in stories, sunbathe watches and stills. It's for freedom, a kingdom so weightless and tandem. Chase the eye at our own pace, cast a cat, it'll be okay. Give and take, never hesitate. One by one, we keep on coming. Walk with me, talk with me for a little bit, let's get into it. Walk with me, high times, low key, a minute down. Walk with me, talk with me. Walk with me, talk with me. Walk with me, talk with me for a little, just a little bit.
The score will start regressing. But if you start playing again, it will climb.
I'm ready to rumble, gonna take it down. You can feel the tremble. I'm taking off the ground, head down like a pencil. Up to no good, I'm causing trouble. No, I am not subtle. Better get on my level. I do it, I'm doing it. I do it, I'm doing it. I do it. I'm doing it wild like that. I'm doing it, doing it. I'm doing it, yeah. I'm doing it, doing it. I'm doing it wild like that. I'm doing it, doing it. I'm doing it, yeah. I'm doing it, doing it. I'm doing it wild like that. You can see in my eyes that I'm ready now. I'm ready now. Look up in the sky, 'cause I'm gonna strike. I'm the lightning throwing fire, shaking up the night. Hey, I'm about to break away. Never gonna stop this train. Get on or get out the way. Get out the way. Turn up now, here we go. Turn up, here we go. All day I'm on you, all day I'm on you. All day I'm on you, all day I'm on you. All day I'm on you, all day I'm on you. All day I'm on you, all day I'm on you. All in, turned up, now here we go. All in, turned up, here we go.
Rendering him untied of the whole
Times like these really make me wanna scream. I feel alone and I could really use a team. All these emotions are subliminal, and every single one feels criminal. So I think it's time I hit the interstate. I'll deal with this another day. Hey, it's a lovely day to feel insane. What a lovely day to torture my brain. Get me out, I've been drowning for so long. It's a lovely day to feel insane. I'll sing my thoughts until they turn into a dream. And I lose hope, I tell me things that I don't mean. All these emotions are subliminal, and every single one feels criminal. So I think it's time I hit the interstate. I'll deal with this another day. Hey, it's a lovely day to feel insane. What a lovely day to torture my brain. Get me out, I've been drowning for so long. It's a lovely day to feel insane. What a lovely day to torture my brain. Get me out, I've been drowning for so long. It's a lovely day to feel insane. This life is a daydream. Our time is a precious thing. We're searching for meaning in the highs and the lows we've seen. When all is said and done, standing on the bright side, can't believe how far we've come. We've only just begun. See the world through new eyes, taking us to great heights. Anything is possible, everything is new, and we'll carry each other, running wild into the night, in technicolor blue, and we'll carry each other. One chance in a
bossy. Back to the wild, baby. I'm so fierce. Back to the wild, baby. Don't underestimate me. Back to the wild, baby. I'm so fierce. I do what I want. I'm so fierce. I do what I want. I do what I want. I'm so fierce. I do what I want. I do what I want. I'm so fierce. I do what I want. I do what I want.
While revealing
Yeah. Yeah. I'm back in, I'm back on. Stand up like backbone. I'm beast mode, I'm so strong. Go hard or go home. No stopping, I can't stop. I will not lose. I'ma always win. Now let the games begin now. I'm never off my grind. I'm always on time. I'm ahead of the game, I'm first place. I'm in my prime. Hard work that pays off. I pay dues, I'm paid off. Cross me, get crossed off. I'm so fresh, I'm so raw. Go hard like a day. It's game time like game day. I ball hard and clutch play. It's game time like game day. Now let the games begin. Now let the games begin. Now let the games begin. I'ma always win. It's game time and I'm up one. Name something I ain't done. Name a body that's my type. Air Jordan, I'll take flight. I'm next level, I'm franchise. I'm top tier, I'm that guy. I'm the man of the year. I'm a man with no fear. I think like I'm a shark. The way I move so sharp. I go hard for the team. That's how I play my part. I'm solid like the foundation. I'm dedicated to greatness. I always knew I would win. Now let the games begin. Now I'm never off my grind. I'm always on time. I'm ahead of the game. I'm first place. I'm in my prime. Hard work that pays off. I pay dues. I'm paid off. Cross me, get crossed off. I'm so fresh. I'm so raw. Go hard like a day. It's game time like game day. I ball hard and clutch play. It's game time like game day. Now let the games begin. Now let the games begin. Now let the games begin. I'ma always win. I'ma always win.
something greater. You lay your life on a full line when everyone else turns back. It's safer, drown out the fear inside. Will you rise to be heroes? Blood on your knuckles, heroes. The world on your shoulders, heroes. Giving everything you've got, fighting till victory's won. Heroes. One more step, one more breath, one last chance. Don't give up now. One more step, one more breath, one last chance. Don't give up now. One more step.
Sun's up, it's a new day, make the fire. Put your boots on, we about to get higher. Makeup, show up, pick a side, yeah, bring it, got it, drop it. Hey, starting soon, it's a new day, pick a trigger. Fill up the cup, way bigger than a sugar. Bring it, got it, pop it. It's a new generation, decide, got it.
Just don't get to zero. Let go, aim your arrow. Break the shackles, prepare for battle. It's here and now.
Like a game, where the stage, drop it in a final place. It's on, show must go on.
Welcome to the new world.
Welcome to the new world, yeah. Like the flame, bring the cage, rage, ripping out the page. It's on, the show must go on.
Welcome to the new world.
Welcome to the new world, yeah.
It is day 3 here for the T3 Arena League North America. We are deep into the qualifiers now. 4 teams remain. Only 2 can move forward into the grand finals directly from today. Hello and welcome. We are in for a treat. We've got 2 best of 3s today. 4 of the best teams really in North America. And we've got also some of the best talent to bring you the action today on the couch and, of course, across on the pond. We've got Yolo on the big tally today. I'll go to you first, Yolo. How are you feeling? Obviously, some big games today. Some big teams remaining. Only 2, though, will get to go through to the grand finals.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I'm really looking forward to today. There's some great teams, as you said. I mean, Dodgers, Raihards, we've seen them before in the last series. We've seen the other teams as well, but they're the standouts, I would say. And honestly, I mean, I'm just looking forward to it. 2 best of 3s. Both teams that win go into the finals, guaranteed. So it's just going to be great games.
We get to welcome in the boys as well on the couch for today. Firstly, Smash, your debut for this season, obviously, coming on in for the first time. Did you get to watch many of the games last week?
Well, yeah, a little bit here and there. Of course, it was a pretty short day, but managed to get that day 2 and watch a bit of that. It was good.
Yep.
Good fun, good stuff. I mean, I love the new set as well, and bringing in yourself as well is always a good addition.
Now, obviously, you said it was a short day. Day 1 was probably the shortest of the days. Digital, welcome on in. Obviously, you were here for day 2. You got to see some of the games, which was at least a little bit longer than day 1 and had a little bit more of the action. How did you sort of view things?
Oh, look, I think that early on in the competition, right, it was the really standout strong teams that we saw in the past that really came out to shine and play, but they weren't fully tested, though, and that's just it, you know? You had some newcomers coming through and went by the wayside as kind of to be expected. They gave it a crack, though.
Yeah, they certainly did. Now, I did mention, obviously, day 1 was a little bit of a quiet and quick day. We did have, unfortunately, a forfeit and then an absolute stomping from Dodgers, so that really was basically the highlights for day 1. We'll go to the format, though, very quickly before we kind of recap things even further. Here for the North America League, it is a sort of 3-way pathway. Qualifiers into the wildcards and, of course, the season finals, which is what these teams are vying to get into. 8 teams began for the qualifiers, down to 4, and obviously only 2 teams will now progress to the season finals. Smash, obviously, for these 2 teams, it does mean you make the season finals, you at least make the money, you make it to sort of the end game. So a big opportunity now for some of these teams today.
Yeah, and it's important to book your ticket early as well. I mean, anything can happen in some wildcard situations, and it gives you that extra time to prepare and kind of hide a few things, make some strategies up, and less pressure on you. once you booked your ticket, it's pretty easy going.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yolo, I'll go to you here quickly as well, because obviously the format for these tournaments, obviously we've got the 3 different modes, we've got the 3 different maps. I want your thoughts coming into it. Obviously, as we know, the topic and the discussions around this kind of season has been the shift from 3v3 to 5v5. How do you sort of view things coming into this season, and how have you kind of seen the 5v5 meta sort of develop?
I mean, it's changed drastically compared to the 3v3 that we saw in the last season that T3 hosted in the tournaments. But I mean, I think the main thing is just the variety that you can pick when you have 5 heroes, because there used to be, I'm sure as we all saw, that it was pretty much the same 3 heroes picked. But now as soon as you get 5, you can have maybe a 3 staples, and then you've got 2 more that you can go for maybe if you're more of a one-trick in some character, you want to have a bit of fun. It just allows you that mobility and just that ability to switch, and the mental games are great, especially with the big maps, the plays, the outplays, and the respawn switch.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, the variety that you can have 5v5 versus 3v3, that's going to be a big factor, along with obviously the maps itself, right? Digital. I mean, that's the biggest thing, I think, is depending on really what maps you're going to go to. Yep. Hopefully, we see some variety.
Yeah, certainly do hope so. But for the most part, the first 2 maps, the Control and Browse Dock, is going to be roughly stock standard. Nothing too crazy just yet. But really, my eyes are on map 3. When we get to Old Medina, that's going to be an absolute fiesta. Yeah,
obviously, best of 3 for these qualifying matchups, and we'll go to the maps themselves. So, Control, Payload, Elephant Estania, Browse Dock, and Old Medina. Now, I'll get your thoughts, Yolo, because you're our resident expert on the tally. Obviously, these are the maps that are going to be played throughout this season. How do you sort of view this?
Well, Elephant is obviously with Control. You've got more of the control-based heroes. You'll probably see a lot more Sindri there than maybe an Escort. But then I'm more looking forward to, as Digital said, with Old Medina. Hopefully we see a map 3, because that's a new map to the 5v5. The 3v3 didn't see it. I'm sure all the viewers want to see how that's played in the competitive scene. This is a really long map. It starts with Control, then goes to Escort, so it's really interesting to see with the team comps and whatnot. And then obviously Browse Dock, even though it's gone to 5v5, it's pretty similar in terms of how you're playing the map. You've got to get that control, get that team wipe before you can go down and push the cap.
Obviously, we are not guaranteed to see Old Medina, because if you get the 2-0, then we don't get to see it. Obviously, that one being the third one of the 3. Obviously, last week in particular, we saw quite a lot of stomps. We saw quite a lot of one-sided affairs, as we'll go to the highlights from last week and sort of recap. I think most of these probably being from day 2. That's our boy Yolo on the screens here. As great as he is, let's go to the highlights, and that's even better. Sorry, Yolo. Obviously, though, day 2 is pretty much where these highlights were, Digital, because day 1, we basically just saw literally 30 minutes of action. Dodgers absolutely steamrolling through, as we expected. But for day 2, at least, we saw a little bit more competition.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more competition. Some teams got tested a little bit more, especially in this example right here, Kombucha Farms. This was a YouTuber ranked a 5-stack, and it definitely gave it a good crack. They kind of pushed the I would say the envelope a little bit, but unfortunately still fell short to a pro team at the end of the day, especially when it came to the payload escort maps in terms of composure, in terms of where people were being placed, and communication. And that's where things just really fell apart.
Yeah, obviously though, we got to see a lot more of Elephant Estania Smash. I was looking at you as well. Obviously, we've seen the most of this map, considering it is number 1 in the map pool. I like Control. It's a little bit different to Payload, but it's also the only Control. How much stock do you kind of put into that for these teams coming into this rule set, where you've only got 1 Control? Do you put too much emphasis on it, considering it is the first map of the 3, or do you put more of a focus on Payload?
Historically, you'd put more focus on Payload, of course, because if you win 2, you go on. So it is a little bit more important, but Control, it can set the tone pretty early, and you do want to come out of the gates pretty strong. If you come out on the back foot, then, you're kind of second-guessing yourself, doubting yourself. So Control, I'd say getting off to a hot start is nice,
yep.
But of course, the more emphasis you put on the Payload, if you can guarantee those 2 wins, then you can move on. Personally, though, I'm excited to see if we can get to that Game 3. As you mentioned, you haven't seen one yet, and kind of need to. Yeah,
would be great. All right, let's go to the bracket here and out of these highlights and how things unfolded from week 1's action for the qualifiers. For X66, they got a free ride. They got the forfeit. That's why they've been able to go straight through. They'll be taking on Dodgers, who absolutely decimated XCV. Was not a contest over 30 minutes. That was a very one-sided affair. Yolo, you've seen the bracket. You've seen how things have panned out. Any surprises in your mind so far for this season?
Honestly, so far this season, it's gone pretty standard. I would say. We see most of the surprises in like the wild cards, or if it's a bigger bracket pool to start with. But I mean, obviously, you've got two massive games today, as you've all been saying, and Dodgers and Reinhardts. Yes, they might be the favourites here, but they could easily go down today, just depending on the picks. And as you were saying earlier in the control map as first, I feel like the teams say X66 want to get that first win, get that confidence in to then try and beat Dodgers straight away into the second game of Browers Dog, because you don't want them to get that first game, get the confidence, and then they'll probably clean slate them.
Yeah, that's a really good point there. Obviously, for our top teams, they're going to be quite proficient on payload. So if they also get the control, that's probably why you see the 2-0. All right, match one, not too far away. We'll go to the hero bans here for this particular game. Of course, Dodgers probably come into this one as the clear-cut favorites. We do get our bans coming out. And obviously, for Ossus and Aletta, they have been taken out. The Aletta probably surprises me a little bit. I'll go straight back to you on this one, YOLO. Ossus, no surprise there. Are you a little bit surprised by the Aletta?
Yeah, I am really surprised. I mean, she's very good on Instana in terms of survivability. If there's maybe a 1v1 in the cap, she can just survive. If they've got the cap, she can just run around, wait for her teammates to come back. But usually in 5v5, that's not really the case. And I mean, I think Osas is a great ban, as usual, as we've all been saying. If he can pick off that healer, then it's basically a team wipe. So that's a great ban. But Aletta is a bit of an interesting one.
I will say, though, Digital on a map like Control, Aletta gets into the backline, can be a bit of a nuisance. You think about maybe that's probably the thinking here in this ban?
Probably is. Just to, prevent a team that loses the objective to, be spawn locked, having to deal with Aletta first. You can obviously survive for so long, get in and out of these angles before they can even test to play the payload. The point.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we're not too far away from getting into Elephant Estania. We'll quickly go around the table here and get some predictions. YOLO, quickly. Dodgers or X66? Who have you got?
I've got Dodgers.
Dodgers. Smash?
I've got Dodgers as well.
Yeah. I'll go Dodgers. I think we're probably all going with Dodgers in this one. Digital, are you going to go with Dodgers as well?
I'm going to dodge that one. I think the X-Team Mobility Core, X66, they might actually bring the fight to the Dodgers.
All right. Well, let's get into this one, though, for our opening matchup of the day. For day 3 of the qualifiers, it is Dodgers. It is X66.
All right. Right into the pick'ems. Fort, right off the bat, double tank Jabali as well. The new healer Neon on presence for X66, Gatlin, and Gloria, rivals. By the way, he's one of the only players in the entire league that actually does play Gloria seriously. And to be fair, on a smaller map as well, it could be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, it could be quite difficult. Quite difficult to dislodge these heavier tanks, and of course there's so much damage. The Jabalis are out. Now, that is going to be a fun one. There's going to be a lot of poking, a lot of pushing, and a lot of prodding here. Well, we've got 2 Johnny Jets on the field as well, so it is going to be hard to flip this point over. The first contest and the first cap is going to be pretty vital here.
First cap, first kills coming through, standard, shields up. Getting Gatlin to fire bullets down range, destroy the shield to hopefully get a pick or two. Objective, however, it is being capped by S66. That's them right off the bat.
Yeah, they do get that, but they'd also get the first pick as well, so they might be able to snowball here onto the point. They've got some angles on this high ground as well. They're going to be able to get this Jabali from behind very soon, and that's pretty much going to be a clean wipe over, you'd imagine. Well, there is some resistance coming through, but it's all the time the points capping up. Jabali now up on this point. How are they going to uproot him?
Not too sure, and also to note as well, that was my mistake, it's actually Dodgers who have the first cap, and it's almost 25% off the rip. I gotta say, though, kills, it was actually really even across the board between these two teams, but unfortunately, the objective starting to slip out of control. Now, this regroup coming out from S66 has to be big money here.
Yeah, the regroup now coming in, and you can see that they are pretty well together. You see Johnny Jet will try and get on the flank and start to pressure out that back line, maybe cause a little bit of confusion. Try and get that communication going. Of course, with the 5v5, the communication is oh so important, but sometimes there's too many cooks in the kitchen. So we'll have to see if they're on a unified front onto this retake.
Yeah, perhaps. And very good to see as well. They're playing further back as Gatlin because you just fire so many bullets down range. It's very suffocating to have to play against. Here comes Jox, though, into the 5k room. Catches Sindri. The healer is out of the game for the time being. They have to wait for respawns. And they're starting to collapse the entire team of X66. Oh, sorry, that's the Dodgers. It's looking really good. They managed to convert off of a single pick onto the healer. Johnny Jet being sneaky behind the back lines. But it's not over yet. Inside the 5k room, there's still 2 more players trying to survive for a little bit longer. But it was a matter of time, I suppose, because before they got taken out. X66, job well done.
Job done indeed, you'd say, but it is going to be the point being held. At the moment, the Dodgers are starting to pick that up. But you see all the ultimates starting to come online as well. So we're going to start to see a very busy fight coming through. Starting to get popped now. The capture comes through, but it is not going to be enough. And you see on the kill feed, Zedard starting to get in there, taking out their opponent. Again, onto the point, this red team is pushing deeper and deeper. And all they have to do is get behind this Jabali to take him out. And then the cap will be back over. And at 67%, this could be last fight territory and last life here.
Yeah, maybe. A couple of ultimates as well online right now for the Dodgers. Eyes on Isagi, eyes on Brian Jabali for the last stand. Should they get onto the site to say things off? And Isagi as well on Johnny Jet. Picks off 2. That's massive. Getting Gloria, getting Johnny Jet. However, their ultimates also online. They're regroup. Maybe they can make it just in time.
They might be able to get it. Well, they'll definitely be able to get time to get the touch in, but they do need to regroup. So it is going to cause them to kind of get into positions that they might not want to be playing from. As see Rot opening it up, first pick already.
Oh, it's good, but however, they have to get onto the payload. It's only Jox, Johnny Jet trying to one-man it out. Rivals joins the fray, takes down Federal from behind. It's looking really good. This team fights works wonders, but however, it's 99% right now for the Dodgers. X66, they have to hold on. How do they position now for defense?
You see, they didn't spend a lot there in the ultimates. Johnny Jet on the side of Dodgers did spend the ultimate as well, so getting taken out though on X66. Johnny Jet goes down early, so it's going to be a 5v4 situation. Although Johnny Jet's quite quick, so might be able to get back for the end of this fight, but you have to delay very well. Oh, Rot going very low, getting lower and lower on the point. Is that some of these players from X66, they're just kind of falling over. They're not going to be able to put up much of a fight, and here's that overtime wick burning down, and it is going to be the first point over to the Dodgers.
Rival so close as well of touching the objective. That could have been overtime potentially. But I have to say, towards the very end there, I suppose it was just the difference between the two teams. In the X66, Rock got caught out of position. No takes, no healers anywhere nearby. And that was something so uncharacteristic. Where was the defense to set up to hold the objective?
Yeah, it can be so difficult once that 5v4 situation comes through. Of course, now the Jabali starts to get pinched, and that's where there's too many characters all in different angles.
Yep.
Jabali can't really defend himself very well, and it just goes down, and that's kind of your anchor on that point. And you saw try to get a touch at the last minute, but just not enough to get back.
Yeah, definitely wasn't easy though, but I think Dodgers, they had a really solid game plan coming into it, and despite kind of like the trades between the two teams though, I have to say, at the end of the day, right, like they looked really in control. I don't think they were stressed at all throughout that entire first round, YOLO.
Yeah, there was great composure there from Dodgers. I mean, they had that 50% lead, which they got pretty much unharmed. They got the cap, and then Zeta in the Gatlin was just able to hold the balcony, get those kills in, and just at one point she had more kills than the Gloria and the enemy Gatlin combined, and that just shows how effective you can be with a hero. Maybe have that extra JJ or that extra healer or that extra tank instead of another DPS, and just let your own DPS just let rip and prove more valuable than two heroes.
As per usual, things do go pretty quick here in T3 Arena. Dodgers got off to the dream start, got good point control from there. Really difficult for it to get back. Obviously, X66, though, I felt actually did all right to get back, get a little bit of control, get that ticking up. But, I mean, as we probably expected, Dodgers started well, finished well.
Yeah, getting that first cap, pretty vital. They managed to get the Gloria into position and start getting that choke point, getting that spray down, delaying them on that retake as well, shutting down the angles. Yeah, they gave up the point cap, but they were kind of in control of it the whole time. They kind of knew that they were going to give that up just to retake. Get some utility, get some spending out in the ultimates, and then just come back and take it. It was a clean round from Dodgers.
It's almost like a financial reset in a way, obviously, for Dodgers, and then sometimes it's okay to give a little to take a lot more. They take the first round, though. If they win the next one, obviously, that's the map done, Digital. And if they win this map, you probably would imagine they'll take the series.
Oh, perhaps, I think we talked about this as well pre-show that Dodgers, given how fast and how aggressive they were in last week, that they managed to stomp XCV. Coming to this matchup, though, X66, I really thought they would have put up more of a fight. Maybe that it's just, game one jitters and they're not quite ready for it just yet. But look, they are in dangerous territory.
I will say, we didn't mention it in the pre-show, YOLO. No Trev tonight. Obviously, Rock comes in as a substitute, so they don't have their main Gatlin player. Do you think that's obviously a factor for X66?
Yeah, I think it's definitely very influential because obviously as soon as you've got a sub playing, maybe they've got less chemistry than with the entire team, then there can be some communication errors. As Smash mentioned earlier, communication is so important in this 5v5, and as soon as you've got that one person that's maybe a bit out of touch with what their normal game plan is, you know, the muscle memory, what they do without saying, as soon as they're a bit out of that loop, then maybe they can get picked easier, and then it can stumble out of control very quickly. But hopefully, jitters maybe round 1, straight into round 2, hopefully they've got it covered now.
Yeah, hopefully they do. All right, well, for those watching on, we've got a little bit of a present for you. We've got a giveaway code now. It's not just for one person, it's for everyone. Everyone can input this code, but you've got to do it by the end of this broadcast. So make sure you get on in with the giveaway code just down below. You can obviously go and put that one in and get yourself some goodies, but got to do it by the end of the show. So not a whole lot of time, but everyone can obviously win if you enter the giveaway code. Round 1, boys, obviously in the books. Round 2, probably not too far away from starting very shortly. What needs to change for X66? Is it just that initial fight smash? Do they have to put a little bit more emphasis on getting that initial control point?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very important to set the tone and make sure that you're going in as hard and as fast as you can, getting that initial cap, but also just on the retakes, making sure they're very disciplined. If they're trying to go for a sort of a flank and push some people wide, they need to communicate that to the front line as well, so they don't sit there, take 70% of their HP, then have to back off, and then flanks in position. So I think communication is important, and just kind of making sure you're going all on the same time.
Yeah, I would imagine that's obviously something that's very important, making sure everyone's sort of interconnected and on the same page. Very quickly, as we get into the second round, do you think much is going to change, YOLO? You've seen obviously the first round and how it's played out. Do you expect something similar?
Obviously, something similar is well bound likely to happen, but I think if you take away that first 50%, that second half of the game, X66 played really well compared to Dodgers, and I honestly think they had the edge on that. Maybe, obviously, Dodgers knew that they had that advantage, so they could slack a bit, they weren't as rushed, but if you look at that last segment, if they can put that game into the start, get that first team wipe, get that first cap, get the 30% lead, get confidence, I think they could be in to win this and make it a best of 3.
Confidence feels like it's key at the moment, Digital. It honestly feels like if you probably lose this first fight, if you're X66, knowing full well you've already lost the first round, your confidence starts to wane a little bit, doesn't it?
It does make you think a little bit indeed, you know, and like a game like T3 Arena, given how quick it is at times, it's very momentum-based, right? But I really do have to say, I think for X66, maybe it is the sub, maybe it is the communication fallout, because I really think that at certain times there, when they had the objective, you saw Jox on Johnny Jet pushing him really deep by himself. There was no support from the teammates, there was no heals coming through, no shields to even back him up. So when he goes down, that's only one player down, and then the Dodgers just stormed the entire site. And then towards the final fight there as well, you saw their the Gatlin just, you know, out of position, no one around her again. Gatlin is good when she has support from her teammates. By herself, she gets picked off super easily, and that's a stark contrast to how Dodgers, they were playing their objective defense.
Yeah, that probably comes back to the communication issues, doesn't it, really? And sometimes it's a matter of who's really in the right or the wrong. Sometimes you think about the Johnny Jet going in, for example, maybe by themselves. It's like, well, is the Johnny Jet just trying to make something happen? You know, to obviously just try and get something to be created, but no one else is sort of following? Or was it, you know, he's kind of gone by himself and should have stuck with the team? It's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, it's just about knowing your timings, I guess. Knowing, as Johnny Jet, when your team's ready to kind of follow up. You get in there, cause a bit of a distraction, a bit of a nuisance, but is your team ready to kind of capitalize on that attention that you've been dragging?
Yeah.
It's about being able to connect there, as well as making sure that you're peeking for information, you're making sure you're getting some shots in, but you're not giving yourself up as well. I think that was rot on the high ground. Unfortunately, took a fight not at the right time, went down, and that opened a 4v5 situation. Just those small, tiny little mistakes, if they can get on the same page there, then as X66 have the mechanics to kind of match them.
Yeah, just a reminder, of course, we are just midway through the first map of this best of 3 series, so still a couple more rounds to play out for Elephant Estania, just taking a little bit longer. At the conclusion of this map, then we've got Browers Dock. So Dodgers probably not too far away from getting themselves into the season finals. Not a lot more really to be done. We know, as you said, Digital, how quick this really does play out. This next round, if it goes by and the Dodgers win, they win the map, suddenly Browers Dock not that far away, and they're one map away from the season finals. X66 and Dodgers round 2 here on Elephant Estania, coming your way now.
Oh, look, Smash, I gotta say, man, maybe the alert ban really is proving to be a little bit troublesome for X66, because you can just imagine if Johnny Jet just had the extra, you know, speed boost and also the new secondary ability as well, the TP back to safety, you know, it might have just given, who was it? I think Jox a little bit more room to maneuver and whatnot. But look, I hold my thoughts reserved and just to see how this will really play out. But so far, man, it's just the Dodgers, they're just so confident.
Yeah, and confidence really is key, especially when you are in these official games and pretty high stakes official games as well. I mean, having that confidence, having that, I guess, ability to just back yourself in and take those chances. And when they pull off or they come off, it looks great, and you kind of ride that momentum. But it can be difficult to come from the brink down if you are 1-0 down in a best of 3, whether it be a control point or map or whether it be a series in general. It can be kind of hard to kind of get back into the flow of things.
Yep.
Winning is a great habit to have, DG.
I definitely do suppose. And also, to note as well, Jocks off of the Johnny Jet onto Vincent. Not something that I expected at all.
Yeah, well, we've got Vinny again. Going to see here, Johnny Jet kind of taking this Mega Room, just kind of taking the Undercroft onto the point. That will be trying to get that first unlock coming through. We see.
Hang on a minute. Where's the other team?
Well, we see they're Bing chilling. I believe that they're actually just kind of having a bit of a dance party in the spawn room. That is a fine top hat.
The baseball cap? Or is
No,
that
the top hat.
the top? Oh, right. Yes.
I don't know why he's got a bucket of popcorn on his shoulders.
It's very rare to see those nowadays being worn, isn't it?
I think YOLO's probably seen a few out and about in Oxford.
I bet. YOLO, top hats.
Would not see many down
Yeah,
here.
I see my fair share. Yeah, my fair for you. I mean, I'm sure in Australia maybe not, but you know, London, Oxford, as you were saying, Cambridge, we love our top hats. We love our hats in general.
As we've seen, we're just figuring out what is going on here, but in the meantime, let's enjoy some of these custom skins coming out. The bucket hat is back in fashion, by the way, in a big way. So that Northern Hemisphere summer, make sure you are slip, slopping, and slapping.
Yes.
Big
indeed.
bucket hat on your head will protect you from the sun.
Oh, well, sometimes be like that. So it looks like the teams are going to have to sort out something else. But look, regardless, right, I really do think this is a good reset and a fantastic opportunity for X66 to start anew again. Just figure out what went wrong, and if they're watching the broadcast in the background as well, just maybe take our thoughts into consideration as well. Just positioning.
So, unfortunately, we've got word as I'm back here on the big screen. We've got 2 players that didn't load in, and so therefore, they're just, making sure they want to remake the round and get everyone in properly. So,
Be like that.
yeah, obviously that round and everything that played out, null and void, didn't matter, didn't count. Obviously, it's still 1-0 to Dodgers
Yes.
in the map itself, but that particular round, as a couple of players did not load in, means we're back here on the couch. And that's obviously fair. I know it's kind of unfair. You wouldn't want to play a 3 versus 5.
No, sir.
There's absolutely no point. So, obviously we'll get that one sorted out, hopefully. Won't take too much longer to get back into the second round of things here for T3 Arena. Obviously for X66, making sure that they can get everyone involved. Otherwise, yeah, pretty much going to be a GG. So it means that we'll obviously continue to just have a bit of a chat, obviously, as things kind of have not really progressed too far. We've only had the one round play out so far. It feels like it's all been us. YOLO, obviously, coming into this series, we expected Dodgers to probably come away with the win. X66, we haven't really seen a whole lot from them, only the one round. But have you, at least from that one round, I know we're going back now, it's been a little time since that first round, but that's all we've got. Have you seen enough from them to suggest that they can maybe have a playstyle that can beat Dodgers? Maybe not so much on control, but even on particularly payload as well coming up later.
I think potentially, definitely. I mean, we've seen their playstyle. We've seen that after the first half of that game that they do have the potential to get kills, get a team wipe, secure the cap, play that strategically. And I was thinking about this earlier. I think that in the next update, when there's the they'll get through the wild cards, I'm sure. And then if they get into the finals, hopefully, which they do, then when Gloria gets her big buff, as I don't know if all of you who are watching have seen the balance changes, Gloria's getting a massive buff, and obviously one of their main characters is a Gloria player, and that'll be huge for them if they can do that. Maybe boost them against Dodgers potentially in the final if they beat them there.
Yeah, Rival's one of the best Glorias in the world. And yeah, obviously, if Gloria then gets a buff, you're already kind of ahead of the pack. I'm glad, obviously, YOLO brought up wildcards. It's not as if this is going to be the end of the road for our 2 teams that do lose today. Smash, if they do lose, you can go through the wildcard, so it's not like that's the end of the road. It's not a matter of saving strats or anything. You want to win. You want to go straight to the season finals.
Yeah.
But obviously, it does mean that if you do lose here today, it's not the end of the work. And you get some learning from it as well on potentially how to beat Dodgers next time.
Well, that's an important key as well. Going through the wildcards, you get that more of practice in an official sense. It's very different scrimming practicing where there's no stakes and you're kind of just learning and trying to figure things out. But you're playing in officials where there's that higher stakes, there's that higher pressure. That's the best practice you can really have. So if you're going through the wild cards, yeah, it puts a little bit more pressure on you, but you do grow a little bit more than the other teams from it.
Yeah, certainly so. Okay, round 2 coming your way here for Elephant Estenia. Third time's the charm. Let's get into it.
Yeah, boy. All right, let's see it back in action again. X66. I don't think this.
Might see Jabali here.
I don't know if this is going to be the final lock-ins. I mean, I like to see Brando on Fade, and it's probably better to play him now on Control than later on when you get the Payload Escort.
Honestly.
Yeah, no,
Fade's
right.
pretty decent.
We'll see how it
heavy
goes.
damage, and the charge is always goofy. So
Yeah,
I'm in for that. I'm down to clown on that.
The only other issue as well, I think, was Dodgers then playing the double tank Federal. Dude, his Ruby, right? We didn't really see him on camera too much, but at the same time, I think Federal really has a good thing going for him. Yolo, real quick, let's just hear your thoughts before the game starts.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got great chemistry with Isagi and Federal as they're being brothers, and then Federal just playing that Ruby. Obviously, Ruby got nerfed quite significantly, but when you pair her with Jabali, when you can get that stun off, she's still so viable, especially in Control for those team wipes. When you're in a tight, closed area, her actives, her abilities, they all work so effectively.
Yeah, Ruby, as a tank, is kind of a cool concept with the moving shield and disables as well. So I really like Ruby, especially on the payload maps. On the Control maps, it can be quite awkward to play around that kind of rigid shield, I guess you'd say. But it's like we might have another little momentary bit of a pause coming in, or a bit of a remake coming into this one as well. So we've just got a few issues with X66. It looks like they're not quite ready to go, as we see some beautiful Jade Elephant statues though. You can only assume it's Jade with that color.
Jade, do you know how much Jade is going to cost if you make a sculpture of an elephant that big?
Oh, it doesn't look like they're short of coin around here.
Oh, that's true. That's
I
true.
mean, it looks
That's
like
absolutely true.
Pretty decent.
Well, look, guys, some of these players are having a connection issues, so while we get that sorted out, let's cut to a short break, chill out, because Map 1, Round 2 is still underway.
Here are a few changes in the next update. Ranked will become more rewarding and 5v5 only. More free-to-play friendly. 5v5 will feature all heroes and skins and will receive new map.
I wanna soak up the sun, blame it on the sweet libations. We're just out here having fun, feeling pretty fly, pretty sky high. Shades of amber in a technicolor dream. Got no answer for a call from the aging. This ain't 1980.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and welcome back. This time around, though, I do believe the players are finally in for the matchup between Dodgers and X66. Map 1 still, Elephant Astana, Pro Max. Bear in mind, remember guys, Dodgers, they are 1 up. So let's go right into the game to check out, hopefully, what is the conclusion of this first map. And already right off the bat, though, that's going to be the sight cap coming out for the Dodgers yet again.
Yep, we've skipped over that draft period. Got it out of the way, and got straight into the action, because that's really what everyone wants to see. You can see Ruby on the point, just kind of trying to survive as long as possible, and has managed to get a pretty decent survival. I'm actually now ticking the point up this whole time as the trades did come out. You can see now we've got some more going through. Rock does take out Sagi on that Johnny Jet, so with Johnny Jet out of the picture,
come on.
Seems to be very low as well, so you're seeing a pretty dominating hold here actually. And X66 have got some work to do as they have the cap now. But how long can they keep it for? As Dodgers have been kind of outclassing them so far, did you?
Yes, indeed. That's so funny to see Brian's fate just dash, albeit a little bit slowly, but back over towards spawn. It seems to be a very similar strategy as well, commit to game on jokes, just really wanting to get Johnny Jet in there just to buy time. Gloria, though, point blank by herself. Where's the heals? She can't survive for that long. Everyone ran into the 5k room. Rivals gets decimated, and in the blink of an eye, Sight is starting to fall under siege. S66, sure, they've taken the lead in terms of percent, but this is the true battle and how teams really get tested at this point. But it looks to be a little bit of a full sweep. X66, they have been completely destroyed, pushed off site. Rivals is back, but he can't do too much.
Yeah, Dodgers kind of going with their apes together strong behind that fade into that 5k room, as you mentioned, and they managed to get that flushing pick really early on, which gave them the advantage. And now you can see they're setting up a little bit more passively than we saw in the first time, as they're now liking to stick together a lot. It's kind of like a 4-1 split. Future Bali now pushing up on the point. They're taking a lot of space, kind of denying some entry points, making sure that the spam is going to be able to go through very, very easily.
Jox as well to note, he switched off of JJ onto the Vincent, looking to get behind the enemies and go for a few backstabs. Well, we'll see how that plays out just yet, though. But for the most part, his teammates are 4 players on site. Jox's first kill is good, and it's a bit of a haymaker after haymaker. It's 66. They are on receiving end for most of the damage, though, and overall, team composure. Zeta getting that final kill there as Gatlin, as it completely, once again, reset X66. This percent is getting out of control now.
Yeah, Zeta's Gatlin is popping off. You can see there, they're up to the 6 eliminations, the 6 kills already. Ultimate ready to go. They did spend a lot of ultimates, though, on the side of the Dodgers to kind of keep that point. X66 have got some important abilities coming up. I have to see if they can use them efficiently. They are trying to go from that high ground area. Managed to get onto the point, open themselves up for a little bit more angle, so they're not going to get choked in. But nah, just as I say that, they do get kind of choked into that undercroft.
Rot even popped the ulti as well on his own Gatlin. Got nothing out of it as well. The right-hand peek coming out from Zeta was actually initially really good. But in saying that, Brian, out of nowhere, picking up 2 as Jabali of all players. I think he's managed to equalize the numbers. Isagi as well, taking out Nav. X66, no matter what they try, how hard they fight, it looks to be almost futile at this point. It's going to 99% overtime. Johnny Jet on site, flushes Brando away, capturing. 1 more touch is all it takes, and I do think that might be done. Overtime. Over.
Yeah, Dodgers just so good at managing that push and pull. They can get any space for free on X66. If you want to come and get some point congestion, then you're going to take a lot of damage to get in there and do it. So kind of using the terrain to their advantage, the push and the pull of the fight, using the abilities, getting the shield down, and then being able to collapse on them and push in, take that ground, take the kills, and take the map. Yeah,
and if memory serves me right as well, it was Zeta, and it's just kind of how close. They were still off-site playing as a Gatlin and Jabali. That's the right-hand peak. They were doing so much damage onto the opposition shield and taking down, Rot, I believe, Gatlin before they could really even see them at all. It's just the nature of the beast. That's how it is. And to note as well, that was a 0 to 100% cap in a single go. Unbelievable.
Well, that was a good start for X66, but obviously they couldn't maintain the point. They couldn't maintain the pressure. Zeta, too strong on the Gatlin YOLO. Obviously a difference maker, especially once Dodgers got onto the point, made it impossible for X66 to retake it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Rivals and whoever were their Gatlin and Gloria. They played really well. They had a good KD at the end of it, but I mean, Zeta knew that there was a no-sas ban, which was probably their plan. They banned OSAS. They can play Gatlin without any struggles at all. You're not going to get headshot, one shot. You don't have to worry about that. And as you were saying, that right side peak, they just posted up. The amount of damage, it's interesting if we were able to see the damage stats, but I mean, the amount of damage that Gatlin was doing, and then you've got the JJ at the end there, able to hold on to the cap for a very long time, would allow those teammates that were dead to respawn in and then take the cap on 99%, and then just push it through overtime.
At one point, Smash, it was like this sort of front wall, the 4-1 split, as you kind of coined it, where you kind of just have the Gatlin at the back, everyone kind of just pressures at the front, makes it very difficult. I think at that point, if you're X66, you've got to really think about, is there a way you can flank? Is there a way you can get in the back line, deal with the Gatlin first, then put the pressure in from behind? Instead, they kind of just went face for face value, and that's where they lost a lot of their pushes back onto the point.
Yeah, it is so hard to kind of get that flank in those immobile compositions, because you have that scouting Johnny Jet that's going to kind of communicate where the enemy team's going, so you can always rotate around to kind of do the bit of ring around the rosy to make sure that you're always in the best position to get that spam through, to get that damage through. So like, when they try and touch the point, they are going to go onto it with a little bit low health, low shield or anything like that. So yeah, perfect play from the Dodgers in terms of communication and making sure they always had their ideal setup when the enemy was coming in.
Well, we got there in the end, didn't we, boys? It was a bit of a long control for that very first map for Alapinistania. We move forward now to Browers Dock, and I don't think we're waiting too long for that either. Hero bands are up here for the second map of this best of 3, and obviously we've got ourselves the same hero bands once again. Aleta and Ossus have been banned out. Boys, I'll get your thoughts. I'll go to you, Digital, on that one, because obviously heading over to Browers Dock now, it is that change up from Alapinistania. It's a completely different map, completely different mode.
Yeah, longer range as well. So the Osus ban carrying through, that's fine as well. And Aleta as well. I don't see any reason to switch off of her. We've seen in past as well. I do think it was Aftercall, or another team actually, when they were playing on Browers Dock. When they had the Aleta on, when they clean out the other team, they can just basically spawn trap them when in the open out area. Because when you're on the defending team, having to come through, you only have 2 lanes, and it's very narrow corridors. Aleta can just go in there, fly behind you, bully you. It's just an absolute headache to get past her.
Yeah, Yolo, I mean, are you a little bit surprised by these bans for Browers Dock? Basically, obviously mimicking what we saw on the first map of Alapinistania.
I mean, obviously they make sense in that you've got that Osas Aleta ban, as Digital was saying, but I think that it'll be interesting to see what X66 decides to do here, because they've been playing double DPS for the last couple of rounds. I'm hoping that instead of double DPS, they'll keep one and then get a flanker, as Smasher you were mentioning, because they just need a flanker to deal with that Zeta on Gatlin, because otherwise I feel like she'll just plow through, because that Jabali and Zeta have such a good chemistry together, able to time when you've got your shields up, when your shield's weak, pull back, whatever that happens. I feel like they've got to deny them that ability, and then hopefully they'll maybe make it 1-1.
That's definitely a good point. I think obviously Zeta is someone that is going to be really looked at this point moving forward. If you're at X66 match, you kind of got to see what can we do to stop that Gatlin, what can we do to stop Zeta. Do you put too much emphasis on one player, or do you got to bring it back and say, okay, it's team versus team though, we can't put too much stock into just one person?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the game plan though for Dodgers. They're kind of setting up that Gatlin to succeed. They're investing a lot of resources into protecting, making sure that the Gatlin's in the right position all the time to get those shots out, get that spam through. So if you are playing that kind of that rush into the 5v5 engagement or front on, I mean, the Gatlin's just going to shred you as you're coming through. So yeah, flankers are a good little answer to that. Getting that communication, that timing right to kind of attack from multiple angles is always great. So I think that might be the name of the game.
Very quickly, we'll get some predictions. Yolo, as we head into Browers Dock, do you think that this is going to go the way of Dodgers as did the first map?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think that will be the case there. I think we'll see Dodgers, maybe, I don't know how quick a time it will be. It'll be interesting to see what X66 can get out of this, because maybe if they don't necessarily win, if they can maybe stall Dodgers to 4 minutes 30, 5 minutes, and then get a quick team wipe, I think that's how they've got to work forward. But we're seeing now who's attacking, who's defense, so that will obviously change. But I feel like X66 needs to just see this game, and even if they lose, just take from it what they can into the wildcards and into the finals.
All right, let's head into this one. Second map of the best of 3 here for this semi-final matchup, Dodgers and X66. Into Browers Dock we go.
Oh, Ben, I just want to say, man, like these competitions, it might not actually be final just yet, but we are seeing a change-up as well. Zeta opting to go onto Shell, and it's going to be Composer, which I think might actually be Waldo, onto Gatlin. And Brian and Gatlin, Jabali and Gatlin so far, they've been basically conjoined at the hips thus far, which leaves me a little bit concerned because Federal, the mobile tank, along with Isagi as well, they're able to just let loose and just go on a hunt to break through the X66 defense. That's the idea at the very least, but that's not quite how it's playing out thus far. Zeta, though, does melt jokes, so it's a fantastic start, but Rivals instantaneously as Gloria at that distance, one shot.
Yeah, X66 have gotten the engagement they want, though. They've gotten well, 2 of the first 3 picks, so they are up, but now they're kind of folding like a bit of an origami going on. Brian, up on the high ground, on that Jabali just kind of flushes them out with the rest of the team, and it looked good from the start. They got the first pick. Rod got a nice little pick off, but it ended up not really going into anything. And now the push comes through. This is going to be difficult. How are they going to find the answer for this one? You already see that they are setting up on a few flanks, but the timing.
Oh no.
Rivals just a little bit too early. Have to wait for the team to back up for that one.
Oh, I know about this as well, and throughout the entire initial fight as well, Federal, which is mobile tank, pushing the payload by himself, has gotten so far already. It's about to hit the first choke point for crying out loud. There is no contention. It's Brando solo on site. No one to help. Rots is miles away from his tank. I don't think this is going to work out too well in X66's favor. This payload, I don't think it got contested at all. 4 minutes 38 to push it to the very end. Ben, this is remarkable space.
Yeah, it is. They are going quite quick. They must have got those McLaren upgrades from last night because this thing is absolutely flying. X66, they need to keep their head though, get composed, kind of regroup. At the moment, they're kind of spewing in one by one, and it's not looking too hot. We do see a little bit of a duel coming in here in the back line, but that Jabali is kind of just buying time and wasting it. As unable to get back to the team, there's going to be more push and more picks, as you can see in that kill feed. It is looking pretty one-sided. The kill streak now 4 up. And this Jabali doesn't look like it's long for this world. Trying to contest on the card alone, but there is an off angle being held. And yeah, 3 minutes 55, and we're going under the bridge in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think it matters much at this point. X66, they need to regroup. Like, team composure, it's just fallen apart completely at this point, you know. And as far as I'm concerned right now for the Dodgers, they're just having fun. They're picking off individual players of X66 who are just so far out of position. You saw the tank out of position. You saw Hunter Jokes out of position. It's just so suffocating. Finally, some concession at their doorstep. But now the question is, how long can they hold on for?
Well, this is the best place to hold it if you're going to hold it. Now is the time, but we can see already the angles are just everywhere. They're so adept at getting on these flanks, knowing when to push, when the tanks have taken that initiative and taken that attention away, and the Skadi gets on the side, and if you let a Skadi free shoot, you're in for a bad time.
Even despite her damage fall off as well, at that distance, she's just going to pump out damage like no one's business. YOLO, this is a little bit one-sided, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a long day, got to be honest. I mean, 2 minutes 41, that's a very quick time. That's going to be very hard to beat. I mean, like you were saying, I thought X66 had a great pick at the start. Maybe a bit of miscommunication from Dodgers there, in that the Jabali dropped down, the Gatlin was just open to the Rots, just killing, who was it? Waldo there at the start of the game. But hey, they ended up getting that control, then getting that movement, and the momentum just flowed the entire time. And I think X66 just shows what a bit of lack of maybe communication and lack of maybe tournament play comes into light, because they were staggered for most of the game there, maybe attacking in 2s and 3s compared to a 4 or 5. So they were going in losing every engagement, and they just needed to take maybe 20 seconds to regroup there.
Ben, as well, I really liked seeing the Vincent pick come out, because you really wanted to see a flank, right? But I think, at least on Browslock, it is a place we can really play Vincent, or Medina even more so, on control. It's a bit too claustrophobic, I think, for Vincent to come to full effect. But this is a stark contrast, though. Brian off of a tank, and he's already behind the enemy lines. Not quite going for anything just yet. I take it back, they're actually on the push, but things are a little bit confusing right now, as they just touch and go the payload.
Yeah, X66 are kind of opening this up nicely again, out of the gate, getting a few picks, setting him back, but we'll have to see. Is the side of Dodgers going to be able to regroup, kind of play that little bit more discipline? It was really Brian opening up that first point on the offense, but on the defense we'll have to see what they're up to now. It looks like stalling the point, but does get taken out pretty much instantly, and Rot again has taken Zeta. So good signs here, actually, for X66. They're not out of this, but they do need to be very careful, because they are still getting picked apart. It's like vultures just scavenging around the corpses at the moment, and you can see that payload is getting pushed, but there's a lot of aggression. This Jabali in a very, very bad state, you'd imagine. The angles are going to be coming from everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, they see that shell just pushing onto the cart now. See you later.
See you later, Alligator. That's the melts coming through. And also to note as well, Isagi and Federal, those two guys are brothers, and it's just amazing how deep their flex hero pool is. They can play, you know, each other's roles and whatnot, and the support, it's pretty good. But individually, they are a force to be reckoned with.
Whoa.
Now, this is a bit ambitious. Scotty getting behind the back lines. The trap is good. The reload,
a
however, gets
while.
caught out. Still uses the ability to escape behind the pillar, but it was a matter of time before Rot took him down. It's kind of interesting how the dynamics are flowing, isn't it? We saw X66 fall apart in terms of team play in the first half, and now in the second half, it seems to be the Dodgers that's struggling a little bit, but it comes down to time.
Yeah, Dodgers are kind of getting a little bit goofy with it, I'd imagine, as you can see that they are kind of spewing in a little bit, but they're taking a lot of individual duels, which is something that we haven't seen from them really. I mean, working on that teamwork a lot and kind of playing off each other. He's going to punish them, as they will get the cap on the side of X66, and with 4 minutes on the clock, they
Not bad.
can complete this map.
30
Just
seconds though.
Keep into it. Yeah, 30 seconds, but it might just be a case of just spewing
Ooh.
onto the point from the side of Dodgers to kind of even this one out. But you see now 3 players on the cart together. It's going to be hard to uproot them though.
It's looking good, especially now that they've taken out Federal's Johnny Jet. This cart should be making pretty decent headway, but 10 seconds to go. Oh no, I don't think time would actually work out in their favor. It might be done after all, but regardless, it was really good to see X66 honestly really push Dodgers to their limits, I would say, and Dodgers falling apart just a little bit on defense, much to my surprise, and unfortunately that looks to be it. But hey, look, I was quite pleased at how it played out. Unfortunately, didn't get to see the end result.
Yeah, well, it's not the ideal result there for X66. I think that Dodgers identified that if they can just stall the card out for a little bit, they're going to win this one out. So you see a lot of individual duels, a lot of DPS players, a lot of highlight plays. We see some flying going on.
Yeah, having a bit of fun at this point, and at least, you know, a bit of a gentleman's agreement to keep it going, get the payload to the very end, I suppose. But yeah, look, I think Dodgers as well, you know, off of that flying start they had in the first round, getting it pushed to 2 minutes 41 seconds. They kind of felt maybe a little bit at peace, just that as long as they contested here and there, just bought a little bit of time, then they would have the work super cut out for them. So X66, it was a very steep uphill climb for them coming into the second half.
Yeah, it certainly was. But X66 can take a lot out of this in terms of just kind of watching how Dodgers play. Watch this back, see how Dodgers play, especially around in that first map. Their team play and their ability to just kind of work off each other's utilities, work off the shield timings, push around, rotate together. That's something that all the teams actually could work on a little bit and watch this back. See some shenanigans going on. Johnny Jet trying to get out, or not Johnny Jet trying to get out.
You think Isagi's actually going to get a couple of cheeky backstabs here?
Could do.
Maybe. It would be cool to see. I would like to see, you know, someone else play Vincent aside from a T3 god who's just been memeing on everyone for the most part.
That guy is
Built difference.
pretty crazy, yeah. I mean, his skill is just pretty much unmatched, you'd imagine.
All right, payload's on the doorstep now. Come on, boys, let's just get it over and done with. Push it through. X66, they should get it across the line at the very end there. And I gotta say though, I think Rivals on Gloria, it was interesting to see, but I feel that maybe eyes really on her towards like the grand finals, towards after the latest patches, because it might just be a little bit too early to slot Gloria into the current meta.
You're getting some practice in.
Yes,
Getting
that's
some
true.
reps in. Not a bad way to do it too.
Alrighty, boys. So 2-0. Dodgers get the win. They close out the series pretty comfortably. I mean, there was some little blips here and there, and I think that X66 definitely did their job of at least being somewhat competitive, at least better than what we saw probably last week with XCV, where they got obviously demolished. It was completely cutthroat. In the end, though, for X66, it wasn't enough, YOLO. We did see obviously the Gloria doing some work for Rivals, but when it comes to the teamwork, when it comes to winning team fights, it was not really getting the job done. I think on an individual level, we were seeing the Gloria sort of shine a little bit, but obviously for the team of X66, they couldn't shine with the Gloria.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when push comes to shove, they just didn't really have the synergy as a team to actually pull through, because I think, as you've all been saying, that on that individual level, if they're playing their individual heroes, then yes, they're going to do well and say 1v1s, but when you're playing 5v5, you've got to pick a comp that's encompassing everyone and making sure that everyone's as valuable as they can be. And as soon as you've, say, got 2 DPS, then you've only got 1 support, and you've got 1 support for 1 DPS. Then you've got 1 DPS without anything, maybe without a tank as well. We saw in that game on Escort that sometimes there was a DPS just without any tank, without any healing. And as soon as you've got that going, then if they get caught out, which Dodgers, a very good team, can just clock that. They're like, oh, hang on, this DPS is solo, easy kill, and then that just stalls them massively. And I feel like coming into this, they'll watch the games and realize instead of maybe picking someone they're better with, pick a more versatile comp that they can get used to in the next month until the finals.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to sort of look at it, I guess. I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I obviously think Rivals played very, very well, got some nice kills on the Gloria, and I think overall, considering they lost 2-0, I still thought X66 put up a decent fight against the Dodgers. Dodgers just too clean, really. I think as a cohesive unit, as a group of 5, they look to be really synergizing quite well. We saw that obviously on both maps. Both maps pretty one-sided to a degree. I mean, there were some moments on Control where we saw X66 get in control and get some points and obviously put some pressure onto Dodgers. Same with even Escort, obviously at the start of Browers Dock. I think in the very first attacking round, obviously for Dodgers, there was a little bit of that pressure from X66, and you two were sort of like, hang on a second, but not enough to be sustained, obviously, for the entire map in the end. They move forward to the season finals. For X66, it's wild card or bust. Do you think we'll see them in the season finals?
Oh, we absolutely have to, This is plenty of time for them to, refresh and just pick out a different composition. And also to note as well, I think the hero ban today might have really affected them a lot. You kind of saw a few players running, kind of go there individually. You can just imagine, maybe if they had the versatility of a letter, that might have been a very different story. But instead, when they were out there, one and done positions by themselves, that's it.
Yeah, that is it. Okay, well, that's going to be us done for the very first map here for the first, for the very first series, I should say, of this semi-final. We've got one more to be played out for today's action. It's after Colt, and it's Ryhards after the break.
We got the people say
Burgundy's on the oaks. Greasy Ave every Sunday morning. Maplewood in the smoke. Like a spirit, we feel it, it's taking us under. Any fire will stoke. Find the answers that had their meaning. Windy was like the roads. If we dream it, believe it, we'll fall into one. Walk with me, talk with me for a little bit. Let's get into it. Walk with me, high times, low key, a minute down. Lay back afternoon chills. Eastside dads getting lost in stories. Sunbathe watches and stills. It's for freedom, a kingdom, so wait, listen, tandem. Chase the eye at our own pace. Cast the cat, it will be okay. Give and take, never hesitate. One by one, we keep on coming. Walk with me, talk with me for a little bit. Let's get into it. Walk with
Well, that's one semi-final in the books, one more to be played out. After Cole and Reinhardt's coming our way here for day 3 of the qualifiers to see who's going to make it into the season finals. I think Reinhardt's will come into this one a favourite, but no one can obviously doubt After Cole are going to give them everything that they've got. One semi-final has, of course, already played out. Dodgers getting through 2-0 over X66. Definitely the favourites, I think, going into season finals with the way that things have played out for them in the qualifiers. Let's go back to our fabulous desk, couch, tally that we've got here, our crew. As we head into this one, though, I'm hoping this will be the best opportunity, our first opportunity, potentially, to go to Old Medina. And what I mean by that is the sense of going to all 3 maps. Maybe we can have some really solidified competition. YOLO, do you think that you've got ourselves a good chance here to head to Old Medina in this series?
Yeah, I think in terms of the matchups in the semis tonight, this matchup is going to be a lot closer, and I think hopefully we'll finally see Old Medina, because that map is so fun to watch, and obviously the viewers haven't seen that yet. And I think, you look at the teams, they're both stacked.
Yep.
We're both going to see them in the finals, realistically, wild card or directly through. And so I'm just looking forward to see what the bans are in the mental games that are here to come.
Yeah, definitely keen for that as well. Before we do go to the bands, we'll go to the bracket first to obviously recap how things have played out thus far in the qualifiers. Of course, Dodgers now through to the season finals. They will, of course, play a grand final here in the qualifiers. Yep. Of course, that's for seeding purposes, but Dodgers are through, and the winner of this next semi-final series will also go through as well. After Cole and Reinhardt. So it's always a bit of a tricky one smash when you have a kind of a grand final per se that really doesn't have much meaning besides seeding. That's typically where you get the old adage of saving strats coming out.
Yeah, you do, but I mean, seeding, it can be important if you're, maybe you know a team, you kind of want to dodge a team, if it's very important to you, whether it be counter strats or counter play style, you don't want to go up against the #1 seed. So I could see one team going exceptionally hard into that grand finals and really trying to go all out, and especially with the meta change kind of coming in, or balance patch coming in. Best to get all your strats out on the table now, kind of see how it goes, and then it is going to be a clean slate going into the grand finals of that matter.
Yeah, before we do get to the grand finals of these qualifiers at the very least, of course, we've got the semi-final #2 to get through After Cult and Reinhardt. Hopefully this one's going to be a banging game. Of course, After Cult, previously TMGG, that was the organization that they played under, no longer now, of course, AF. A solid team, though, Digital, and I think I'm probably not the favorites in this game. I think that goes to Reinhardt, but certainly a team capable of probably getting the win. So probably our first series where I think either team could walk away with the chocolates.
Yeah, 100%, and probably the first series that we've seen in a while that can actually go to map 3 after Cole. Like you said, probably not as good as Reinhardt's, but bear in mind, they are on the up and coming for real. Like this new 5-stack, I reckon they can actually go toe-to-toe. This is going to be a hot matchup. Yeah,
as we go to the hero bands to see how things potentially could shape up for this semi-final series. We had Ossus and Aletta band out last time. It does change up a little bit. Neon and Johnny Jet. The Johnny Jet, definitely no surprises there. Has been a staple, really, T3 since the inception. Neon, though, of course, new addition, now banned out. I'll go to YOLO here on this one. How do you view the Neon ban for this series?
Well, I mean, I think these bans are very interesting, to be honest. I mean, obviously, Neon, she's been picked quite a lot, especially in the high competitive tiers. And as soon as you ban that hero, then that gives a lot of options for, say, Labula or Sindri. We'll see them out. I doubt we'll see an Iris or a Chemist because they're a bit dead at the moment, but hopefully a Labula, and then obviously you've got JJ, which is banned, which is huge because maybe we'll see a different flanker. So we'll see some Shell, some Aletta. There'll be a bit of that annoying action there, but obviously not as much stalling is going to be seen at all now.
I'm probably expecting to see some Shell, actually. Soul from After Cult very much plays it, and then you've also got Flip that likes the flanking options too, so I wouldn't be too surprised. I think also with the Johnny Jet ban, that pretty much might lock in the Gatlin. We're used to seeing that anyway, but Rest is kind of that Gatlin / Johnny Jet player. Johnny Jet gets banned out, he'll probably play the Gatlin. So a couple of things then go that way. Mr. Detroit, classified as the YOLO, do you want to back up his claims as the best tank that we've got here in the Invitational?
Well, I'm not about to shut down Shuri, but I mean, I think definitely for the qualifiers, I'd back that being the best tank. But obviously, until you get to the finals, you've got the players that made it through, that won the tournament last time, and I think their tank players maybe are definitely on par or a bit higher. So obviously, sure, he knows a lot. I'm not going to shut him down. I'm going to put my hands up here. I'm surrendering. But yeah, I think definitely that's a good call, and we'll see him playing a tank, and hopefully he's going to have a good KD and whatnot.
Very quickly, YOLO, we'll keep the predictions to just Aleph and Estanya. Who have you got taking the control?
Right hard.
Right, all right. Well, that would be a good start for them. I think the favourites, maybe slight favourites. We'll see. I don't know how big it is. Probably not Dodgers level of favourites coming into this one. All right, let's head into it. It's the first map of the second semi-final after Colt and Reinhardt's.
Oh man, I gotta say, my eyes are on Mr. Destroy's Victor. That might be the tank buster that they needed. But in saying that though, right off the bat, that's a lot of shield damage, I would think. Oh, Aaron rests Gatlin. No Johnny Jet to play with. So far, so good, but neither side really going for the objective just yet, but finally it swings over to the side of Reinhardt's.
Yeah, Reinhardt's do get that cap, and they did end up giving up the first pick as well, but they're going to come back strong into this, and I do see now they're dropping very low on the side of Reinhardt, but they're not going down just yet. They're very good at staying together and flashing out these side flankers. The cap has flipped over, and now they've got that man advantage. They're going to be able to push onto the point, overcome this tank player on the point, and all of a sudden, he should flip back, you'd think.
Jeez, Mr. Destroy, that is some ridiculous speed on Victor, just gotta say, man. Into the 5k room, out of the frying pan, into the oil, and rest off of Johnny Jet. It doesn't even matter, his Gatlin is just as good. He's picking off so many players individually. Caught Flip, caught Soul, and he also got Mr. Destroy, and they're still surviving for crying out loud. The LS's 1v1 duels at the 5k room, no one's getting the best of each other. The ability is coming through mega clutch right now, playing for, I would like to say, the health pack at the end of the day, and they need some support. This is getting a little bit too drawn out. Finally though, Soul does go down. Flip is just a little bit better, but the objective, it's actually pretty even.
Super important 1v1 to win there, Flip. Now Mr. Destroy's getting pushed out into that 5k room, and that's not a good sign. This is going to start ticking up very quickly for Reinhardt's. Flip winning that 1v1, so very important. Just kind of shuts down that flanking option, but also just enables their flank a little bit more, as you see Aletta just dive bombing in there, dropping the ultimate.
Oh man,
Getting out.
And not only that as well, keeping Jabali as a solo tank, I do believe that like the teammates get a damage buff as well. So along with Gatlin and her fire rate and just the pure DPS, it's going to be a complete mode down. Although everyone's getting in there, Labula ult popped as well, I believe, just to fight it out. But I don't think they managed to capitalize off of it. The shield's about to go down. He's stunned for the time being. Victor is doing his job. Mr. Destroy takes down Santi. They've overtaken the 5k room, and that's going to be the objective conversion I would like to hope for after Colts. It's looking good thus far.
Dell going down to just a slither of HP, but manages to survive and gets healed up, and Mr. Destroy shuts down that flanker, and here we go.
He's good.
Yeah, Mr. Really Destroy, he's holding up to Shuri's predictions, or Shuri's claims of being one of the best tanks, if not the best.
The best Victor I've seen. The only Victor I've seen. So far, so good.
What a heavy lifting.
Yeah, and not only that, he's not afraid to get in there and let him crazy, back him up with some heals here and there. And they are pushing forward, though, as a team a little bit. Victor just keeping Santi at bay. They're getting pushed back. This is so bad for the Reinhardts. They can't even break out of the spawn for crying out loud. After Colt, I'll bring the fight to them. But in saying that, Fates, Rest, Destroy. They get kills across the board. But after Colt, who are bleeding out, I think they've bitten off more than they can chew.
They got a little bit greedy there and pushing up, but they do manage to get to 60%. They'll still get another shot to try and flip this one back over into their favor. Ultimates don't look too crash hot, but you know, stranger things have happened. They get Mr. Destroy in there, kind of in there for free, but it is going to be again another knockdown here as Rest is doing some pretty good work this map. And Flip is just free now to run around unchecked.
Mr. Destroy, that shield was super clutch. Couldn't quite escape the safety, though. Fatal was already on site, ready to receive Osis point-blank snipe. I think this could be it. Overtime not even needed. Polo's by himself for the touch, joined by his teammates Dell. I don't really think the Skadi has been that effective in this entire matchup at all. You simply can't break the shields, and a lot of the players have so much HP to have to play with. 99%, and it's done. After Colt, though, they really had something going for a second there. I really thought we were going to go to 99-99.
Yeah, they certainly had a pretty decent chance, and they were showing some pretty aggressive plays as well as kind of a little bit of individual prowess. But a Flip on that Aletta was just dominating that 1v1 duel. The head-to-head matchup was going so heavily in their favor. I think it was at 2-1 or 2-0 in terms of those kills. And once you have no check for the Aletta on the enemy team, it can be quite difficult to shut them down. And that kind of had a little bit of a flow-on effect, making sure that Del Scardi wasn't able to kind of get full value as well, because it has to deal with the Aletta after Flip won that 1v1. So
Yep.
pressure all on, or pressure off the Raihards really when Flip does a bit of heavy lifting like that.
And y'all, I gotta say, man, rest off of JJ, no problem at all. That Gatlin was so convincing.
Yeah, it really was, and I think that Gatlin was huge there. Obviously, they played in that 5k room a lot with the Labula and the Jabali. That worked so well for them. And then, as you mentioned, the Aletta. But I think the biggest change that ended up getting Raihards the win there was Fate's change to Osas, because he got so many picks at the end, able to get that flip. And then, I mean, obviously, I'll stop speaking because we're in the game, but I'll speak.
Always keen for a bit of thought from the expert. As we see now, the angle's starting to get taken out, but this Jabali's kind of just baiting alone as the rest of the team's going on for the wrap. The Raihards leaving the Jabali alone, getting punished for it.
Okay, hold up. After Colt, they've changed things up a little bit. Del off of Scardi onto Gatlin. Starts it off nicely, I think. Got the better of Rest. Soul as well, picking off. I think it was Zoros before he swapped those. No, it was Fates, actually, sorry. Over to the 5k room, though. It's a flat-out roll. Soul once again picking up Santi. A small change for After Colt, and it's making all the difference.
Yeah, Mr. Destroyer's moved over to the Jabali as well, so that's going to provide a little bit more cover. A little bit more protection. Well. Yeah, damage buff is going to be nice, but mainly that anchor to play around is going to be the key.
For sure. Crazy as well. Labula sticking right next to the main tank. Gatlin!
Down.
Couldn't get the better of Flip. The flank, that was big money there on the spots. Now, this could be a little bit troublesome for After Colt. They have to stay alive for a little bit longer, rely on Crazy to come to mega clutch. And he actually does get the better of Fates, for crying out loud. I think Labula was by himself. The fight has moved its way onto the sides. Gatlin towards the far right angle, trying to go for a couple of shots here. Does take down Soul. It's a trade back instantly, though. The ability from Soul. Post-mortem explodes Rest. After Colt, what a comeback coming into the second round. They haven't lost the point, though.
Yeah, Del's still alive on the slither of HP. Is going to go in, get that 5k room. It's now got a good angle, actually, to start picking things off, but Mr. Destroyer is a little bit too quick on that shield flick. Does manage to save their own life. Flip now in the back line, causing absolute havoc. Santi goes down on the point. It is just going to be more and more ticking up. We'll get that capture back, though.
Yes, they will indeed. After Colt, I think I really have to point out, how deep this team's flex capability is. Just getting off of what they were playing initially in the first round and swapping to a very similar composition to Raihards. And I gotta say, it almost seems like they're doing it better, having the better idea. The double take now, Polos onto Ruby. I'm not too sure if he had that at the very start, though. He might have.
Damage.
But regardless, unbelievable. Fates, he thought he was safe up there. No, sir. Getting chased down by Soul as he retreats back to safety. 68, 70% and climbing thus far. Raihards, you need an answer back right now. But speaking of which, the conversion after Colt, they're still on the sites, which surprisingly, Santi, how did he not manage to regain the cap?
Well, they've managed to flip it out, but they've opened themselves up to some pretty risky positions. Del is going to be there to pick off the first two and hasn't really been pressured out for it. And Flip has to recall, rewind backwards. Santi takes out Mr. Destroy, so things are kind of evening up back onto the point, and with 81% ticking up,
oh wow,
they're going to need something, a little bit of a hero play soon from the side of the Raihards, and they might be just be getting it now.
Yeah, maybe, and I think that's a bit of a, I think, desperation switch coming up from Fates, getting off of Osis onto the Sindri. Didn't really do too much. The double tank Polish point blank. Those cards are doing so much damage, just completely mowing them down. The shields once again continuously coming out. Double shield for crying out loud. Soul getting in deep, going for the flank. That 100% cap was so convincing. After Colts, they are definitely not out of it.
Yeah, playing that double shield, getting that double mitigation, of course. Damage mitigated is better than damaged healed because, less resources to go through with it.
Indeed.
And with that Ruby, you're kind of still active. The shield's up, but it doesn't stop you from using your other abilities and shooting around. So, good adjustments being made here. And you saw that Flip didn't get the same value out of that Aletta pick that time around. They did put a lot more emphasis on kind of finding where Flip was going to try and get through and shut him down.
Yeah, indeed. And Yolo, what a turnaround from After Cold Hay.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, Soul and Del played a great game there. They both had great KDs during that game. They got those picks. Flip, who had proved really valuable the first game, which was shot down completely, had not much value. It allowed Soul to have so much value as their Aletta. And it just really showed that they're so flexible enough to just switch comp completely. Well, not switch comp as such, but switch their strategy up and get that win, because that was really convincing.
Ben, final rounds. I told you, man, this is a hot matchup to say the very least, and this is very enjoyable to watch to say to be an understatement. So far off site and exchanging blows. I think it's the first pick here that really matters, but it's a bit gingerish, isn't it?
Yeah, they are both kind of just poking each other out, trying to get rid of some of these shields, and I do fancy Reinhardt's here. They're getting a bit of a better position, but this Aletta 1v1 is pretty much everything at the moment, and it looks like they might get the better of it, although Aletta has managed to get back into that 5k room. It will be first cap ticking over, and it doesn't really leave them too vulnerable on the point. I thought they might have got themselves to a little bit of a worse position, but yeah, here we go. Del goes down first, and you see the health bars dropping very, very low as they're kind of all forced into a corner, but they're managing to turn it around. They're bunkering in there with the double shield and getting a lot of value out of it.
Polo's one-man army. He's staying alive for so long, but almost gets into the best of Santi before he falls. Flip was there to back him up as well. And for a second there, that close quarters combat engagement, that was so desperate. Labia as well in those angles can do so much damage and healing for their own teammates. So far, so good though. Soul is an absolute beast on the Aletta. Single-handedly, he basically clears the sights, paves the way for his teammates. This is 40% practically uncontested. Fate's trying to land a shot, but Aletta is so fast. Here comes Soul to bully them, keep them in spawn, hold up a little bit longer. After Cult, they're pushing deeper, but I don't think this time they're going to get too greedy.
I think they'll kind of bide their time here. It is going to be a case of just trying to find Fate on this Aletta. Cause as much pressure as possible, open things up for Del, and you can see already we're getting very low into this 5k room. They're doing a great job of kind of retaking here. Del manages to get one back though. Evening things up. All the while the cap is ticking up. The Aletta dancing around on point, causing a lot of issues. This is why this hero gets banned so much. It's an absolute nuisance.
Oh, that timing as well on the heal pop from Soul is so clutch. How? He was not flushed out. 6 kill streak for crying out loud. There is no stopping this man. He's on a heater. Another heal coming through. That's a swap. Fates popping the ultimate and still cannot even damage Soul to half HP. This guy's unstoppable. He's moving around like a maniac. 90% after Cult.
Finally goes down.
Turnaround. It's going to be a sweep. It took Flip. It takes one to no one, I suppose. Here comes Del. Ulti popped, but I don't think they can get much out of it just yet.
Fate's on a double kill though. He's going to try and turn things here.
That's good, that's good. It's still trade for trades. Right-hand side, peek. Del, what can you do for us? Not much. They will lose the objective, but it's 99% after Cult. They have their work cut out for them. Really now the onus is on Reinhardt's.
Yeah, Soul took that personally on that first round. Getting beaten in that 1v1 Aletta duel kind of woke the beast, and all of a sudden, last 2 maps, they've been absolutely tearing it up. You see that 6-1 KD, a big reason why there's 99% accrued on that point.
Oh, and to note as well, they saw Flip out there by himself, and look, there's 3 plays on him ASAP. Yeah. That's just composition, that's just communication as well. Here comes Soul yet again. Goes behind the shield. They don't know he's here. Take down the healer first, maybe. Rest getting the better of Del. They've lost a player. That's for to benefits of Reinhardt. It's a little bit skirmishy. Obviously, with the 5k room, after Cult, they get forced in. They can't quite confirm the side cap just yet. Polo's holding on for dear life. Flip with the chase down. Ooh, I think they've lost yet another fight. It's going to be another reset.
Certainly is. Soul unable to find any clean 100-0 pickoffs. Running healed up. You can see now they're balled up so hard now. It makes things a little bit more difficult for Aletta to get in there and do that damage when they're all together stacked up like that. It is going to be a little bit harder now. Flip has that ultimate ready as well, so can burst someone down very, very quickly. Del getting taken out once more. Del's had a little bit of a mare this round, but we know that they have that pop-off potential to just completely turn the tide. 66%. No mistakes here. Cleaning the fight up now, though. There will be probably one more chance in this round.
Oh dear.
After Cult, they need to kind of get an idea going. How are we going to beat this? We only need to win one. Got some ultimates on the board to do it with as well.
But then again, you look at Del, the Gatlin ultimate's about to come online, but that's the same story for Rest as well. The ultimates are really even across the board. If anything, I think Fate with the Osis, the Unit Beam, might actually swing the tide over towards Reinhardt's play. But this is it, the final fight. Get onto the site, boys. Let's see how it plays out. Flip is low.
Source
though,
cooldowns
with the
ready.
recall. Flip is on them. Gatlin is in danger. The ultimate spots cannot track down the stray Alessa. Fate's picking up crazy. That's the healer down. I think this could be it. After Colt, the bleeding out for perhaps a little bit longer. 99 to 98% over time.
Del
It's scattered
Sol.
across the board. Del, how's he still alive for this long? And he's firing shots down range. Finally, it takes an Aletta to take him down 99%, and that's done. Reinhardt, that was hard fought.
Certainly was, but we saw Sol and Del kind of carrying lifting their weight up, and they did a great job. I mean, how close can you get though? 99, 99,
Jeez.
what a round.
And to say it as well, you know, Reinhardt, after getting completely demolished, I would say, initially at the start of that, 99%, they had to come back all the way, maintain control, and hold back after Colt. I think it was 3 times?
No mistakes.
I think for T3 Arena thus far here for the North America League, that was absolutely intense, right down to the wire. After a 99% to nothing start for After Cult, Reinhardt's bring it back. And I think a big reason for it, to be completely honest, After Cult just didn't respect the fact that they needed to regroup properly. Too much staggering. They kept coming in a couple of times, solo players getting picked off, and then that just delays your ability to then actually push back, retake point. But a fascinating map, really. In all 3 rounds, YOLO, we saw many different factors, really, as to why these teams won these rounds. I thought Rest, Fate, absolutely amazing in the opening round. The second round, we saw the switch up onto the Ruby. Double tank setup, obviously, was huge for After a Cult. And then in round 3, again, but I mean, basically, both teams went down the wire.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, it goes to show that we probably will be seeing a bit of old Medina here, because those games were ridiculously close. And I mean, just the composure to have when you're that far down to just keep on going. And it happened in a game in the last 3v3 tournament. It's just, they've got the ability to just hold, make sure they get that advantage, and then just holding the entire game is a very difficult task. But I think, as you were saying with After Colt, I think there was a bit of like goal line fever in that. They were so close, 99%. They almost just try to go for maybe like a highlight reel, a hero play, and they didn't really have that coordination and teamwork that they had shown so effectively that entire 99%. But I mean, it just goes to show that it's down to the wire on this, and it's whoever plays best, whoever can come up in that environment, and it goes to show it wins.
It felt like the battle of the letters, didn't it, in this one? We saw both Sol and Flip causing an absolute ruckus in that opening map here for Elephant Estania. Moving forward, of course, we've got Browers Dock coming up shortly. Now, Reinhardt's take a 1-0 lead, but After Cult will probably be feeling as if they could have been in that same position.
Yeah, and it's important that they feel that way instead of the other way where it's like, oh, we let something slip, you know, because it was a 99-0 cap. You can feel like, oh, if one little thing goes differently, and you can kind of get stuck in your own head when it gets that close. So important that they reset the mental, take a positive out of it, knowing that, hey, we can stand toe-to-toe to these guys. We can knock them out the park. Just one little thing goes different, and it's a 1-0 the other way.
Yeah, don't have to wait too long. Straight into the hero bands here for our second map, Browers Dock, and see what we've got for the bands. And so far, it's going to be the Johnny Jet once again, and the Gatlin. No real surprises here, although maybe the letters could have been looked at.
Yeah, perhaps, you know, at least in Elephant Estana, I have to say, for Sol especially, that was a standout Aletta. Very momentum-based, though, and when he was playing around the 5k room and his team had control, that's when he was really able to let loose, get 2 heal pots available for himself. But however, whenever Reinhardt's, they managed to take control of site, and they moved straight to the 5k room to ensure that After Cult had a tough time of getting in there, setting up Sol to maybe go for the heal pots. That's when they struggled a little bit for After Cult.
Meta bans, I guess, YOLO in this instance. Obviously, no surprises with Gatlin and Johnny Jet being taken off the board. We saw some good things as well from Rest on the Gatlin. Obviously, it's kind of like both champions, though, that Rest plays. He plays the Gatlin, plays the Johnny Jet. Can't play either of them now.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been nerfed a bit there, but I think it just goes to show how impactful and like the decisions you've got to make, because obviously they've banned the Gatlin, but they can't play Gatlin either now. So it's what comp are they going in thinking that they'll play? Obviously they would have done some scrims. Maybe they've done scrims without playing a Gatlin, so they've got another option. Maybe they're going to pick like a Mark or a Gloria or someone along those lines for that DPS, maybe a Hunter. Or if they're going to go completely rogue, maybe do a flanker based comp and just see how it goes. Really, I think it's really interesting as soon as you take that Gatlin out, because we've seen it across all of these games. As soon as you got a Gatlin, you've got a support on the Gatling, you've got a tank on the Gatling. That's 3 out of the 5 that are just based around that Gatling. And as soon as the Gatling goes, I think we'll be able to see a massive variety of picks here, which is going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree, especially coming into Brower's Dock away from control over to the payload map as well. I think I'm hoping at least that we can sort of see a little bit of a shake-up. We've seen it in some parts. I think we were probably expecting to see Shell a little bit more in that last map. Maybe that might come out here on Brower's Dock, especially when you've lost a lot of that firepower of a Gatlin and a Johnny Jet. Does open things up potentially for a Shell to come in.
Yeah, perhaps. To be honest as well, I'm actually quite surprised I haven't seen Shell being played more currently in 5v5 meta. I don't think there's anything really wrong with her, but maybe just like Yolo was saying a little bit earlier, right? That Shell does kind of have a little bit of an individual play style. She's very self-sufficient, but in the 5v5, you want something that encompasses the team more, and you can just combo with synergy and util and ultimates and whatnot. So I'm not too sure yet, but I do say that after Colt, I think we are going to see the Vincent being the Victor being played a little bit more, just like when they did against Kombucha Farms, to really take down those tanks on Jabali, which I'm probably going to see on Reinhardt's.
Well, what about the double tank setup, I guess, from Aftercall? Are you expecting to see the Jabali and the Ruby once again, as we saw on Control, or do you think they may move away from that here on Payload?
I think that the Victor is more comfortable for the individual player, but I think that the Ruby-Jabali combination, having that double shield, is just so powerful. You shut down a lot of different angles doing that, and making sure the enemy's kind of funneled into you, so you kind of know where they're coming from.
Yep.
As well as mitigating all of that damage. It's so important. I think the Victor could be good in some situations, but I think Mr. Destroyer will pretty stick on Jabali.
All right, Yolo, very quickly, your predictions coming into Brower's Dock. It is currently 1-0 to Reinhardt. Do we see Old Medina or not?
God, I mean, I've been thrown completely by that Control, but I think, honestly, because these teams are so close, it all depends on how well Aftercult are going to come onto that lot after that loss. Sorry, because if they can deal with it, they throw it aside, they go to new rounds. We've got this. But as soon as they hold a bit of that grudge, a bit of that loss on them, and their confidence falls a bit, I feel like Reinhardt could maybe stomp through.
Yeah, potentially. All right, well, the onus does feel like it is on Aftercult, considering they are 1-0 down in this series, heading into the second map of Brower's Dock.
Okay, Benny boy, we go again. Good old Brower's Dock. And, despite it being a 5v5, it's actually a pretty stock standard setup. Double tank, you called it, Ruby, Jabali. Slow and steady wins the race, with the exception of Santi's Neon. That might be the difference maker. Time will tell.
Yeah, of course, Neon banned out in the first map, but it's available here with that ban moving over. And here we go. Dell starts it off and wins the duel versus Fates. That's actually very important for Dell as well. I feel like Dell's a bit of a confidence-based player. When Dell has those pop-off moments, it is incredible. The accuracy, the playmaking, it's fantastic, but Dell needs to step up in this map if that's going to be the difference between the win and the loss, making this evened up. And as we can see, already starting off, the brawl comes through. Of course, this is going to favor the attackers as the spawn is closer, but they're not giving it up for free. Reinhardt's we have a big fight here.
That is actually pretty funny. Santi, I think he was pocketing Fates at the start, and Fates gets one shot in the head by Dell. So it's a little bit of a shafting their momentum for the time being. But in saying that as well, Reinhardt, they've actually managed to push the payload to quite a decent position. Already past the bridge now, and after Colt, nothing really to show for it. There's one player down there. Who is it? I think it's Soul on Aleta. Can't contest though, and he's in between a rock and a hard place. Dell, come on man, you gotta land some shots here. Santi goes down. It's excellent damage. The cavalry has arrived.
Yeah, a fantastic angle here being taken by Dell, and with that Soul Aleta living for so long as well. Of course, they died early on in the first engagement, but coming back, you kind of lose track of where that Aleta is, especially if they come back from the spawn. So you're able to get back and get through.
Polos.
Polos does eventually go down.
Yeah, he got greedy, man. 1v1, Ruby v Ruby, and Zoros actually in the corner. I thought Zoros was so low, he had to go down. Maybe Polos got caught in the reload, as he was the one on the receiving end of damage. That's a huge, huge blow for Aftercall on defense. Regardless, though, it's so far, so good. After they've crossed the bridge, the payload, it's barely moved until now. And the best thing for Aftercall is that they made their way through the choke points. But where do the shots come from? They're a little bit dangerous to touch the payload thus far. From behind, though, there's Soul Lightning quick, trying to poke them in the backside. You got to be targeting Neon. Santi could be in danger here.
Santi does get healed up, and that's going to allow Polos to go down. Mr. Destroyer needs to get on this point. He's going to start to contest it out as the trades start to go through. Fates is getting taken out by Soul. Soul was trying to take down that heal, but there's just a little too much support there. Jabali getting very low. Mr. will go down. Flip is trying to do as much work as possible. The cap is so close to going in, but You only need a few meters to stop it, but we will see you get it stopped out here. You'd imagine Flip the last one to go down. We'll get healed up actually from a very long range hit. And he's trying to do the hero play.
Oh, no.
Bolos and Flip have done a lot of work here. Flip does eventually get pushed out though.
Santi got
Del's back.
clapped. He went on there to try and support Flip. As a result, lost his life. That's a massive stagger going their way. And there's Payload a meter away from getting capped as well. After Colt, this defense is looking super, super good. 40 seconds left to make it through. One last stand, I would like to think. And above the bridge, hang on now. That's a little bit of a risky position for Del to be in. He escapes. Get the hell out of dodge right now. This is going to be it. This is going to be the final team fight to decide if they can push it through.
Sol and Flip are dueling very heavily here. Sol has that ultimate, just does spend it. Doesn't manage to get a kill for it. Now it's going to be a brawl onto the payload. Jabalio comes out. Mr. Destroy doing so much work on that payload. Rest gets an answering kill back, but they're losing players over and over again, and no healer alive. It is just going to be a full retreat mode from the side of Reinhardt's. Rest on the run, might be able to get a last minute touch, but there's not going to be much backup there. Sol does kind of feed away their life, and that overtime will kind of come on now. They do activate it enough, but they're spending lives to try and keep it alive. Santi goes down, and the point is getting very low, falling back out, bleeding out. It is going to have to be the biggest hero play from Flip. Mr. Destroy on this Jabali, 7-1, 8-1. MVP performance here. Mr. Destroy, I'm glad you didn't go on the Victor, son, because you've absolutely dominated on the Jabali.
That is go-to, man. That's probably the most aggro Jabali I've seen in a long time. In the final few seconds there, during the crucial team fight, the ulti pop, I think it was from Neon? I don't even see the switch coming out from the side of Aftercult. Well, that was mega clutch. That is rock-solid defense. Fort Knox coming out from Aftercult. YOLO, what a performance.
That was huge. I mean, getting to 1.25 meters from Reinhardt and then after Cole, just being able to hold that. And I think, as you mentioned earlier with Santi, I don't think Santi should have gone into that engagement as Neon to maybe try and help Flip, because they both ended up dying. That was a major stall of like 20-25 seconds, and you can't afford that really, because that's a whole entire gunfight they're just throwing away. And obviously, I mean, it just goes to show even if you're 1.25 meters, if you get team wipes, then they can push through the red building, they can get that space back, and that becomes a massive hurdle that you've got to create. And I mean, Mr. Destroy just goated, honestly. I mean, I see why Shuri said he's probably the best here. I mean, that was just great stuff.
It was dominant, but we did see Aftercall get very, very close in that control map as well, and then fall at the final hurdle. Will we see the same thing here, or have they managed to reset that mental out, put it all aside, and are they going to be able to convert this one out and bring us that map 3, that illustrious map 3?
I don't actually know, man.
Elusive map 3, I should say.
We'll see. Thus far, crazy now onto the Labula. I do believe that is a switch. Reinhardt, they haven't changed anything else at all, opting to really just play on the payload. So it's really the first picks that Aftercall are looking for. And I think actually as well, the majority of the team, they've made decent progress behind the enemy lines. This could be a massive flank coming through. A war on 3 fronts. This could be it. Flip first to go down. The shields are holding on for as long as they can. Base getting targeted by Aletta. Come on, Sol, get in there. Show us what you're made of.
Yeah, Sol doing a lot of work. It is going to be very difficult. Oh, gets absolutely flicked out of the side. Fates is hit double tap there. This is going to get so much time off the clock. They're going for this 3-fight strategy. If you fight here at the start, don't let the cart push it all. You can get 3 fights in if you're quick enough. And that is a fight they should not win any day of the week. They got the perfect flank set up on Aftercall, but they just get flushed out. And you see, again, Flip now does get the opening pick onto Sol, but rest onto Mr. Destroy. They're kind of crumbling here. Oh
my
nerves.
God. Fates is an absolute monster to get that 3K as well. That completely shifted the momentum in the firefight. Now, one more try. 2 minutes to go. They still have to get to a fresh checkpoint. He's barely even made it towards the bridge just yet. In fact, he's barely moved above from a starting point. After Colt, we thought their defense was good. Reinhardt, they're putting on a click thus far. However, Fates, he does not see Del on the right-hand side. Misses Destroy. Goated as he is. Picks up 2. Del also another 2 his name. This is a complete mowdown. Santi has to get the hell out of dodge. What a statement.
This is what they needed on that first fight, to clean it up early, clean it up nice and fast. Del managing to find the angle this time to get those taps through. Bit of skeet shooting there. And now, so this is the second fight. And it looks like they're so disciplined on the side of the Reinhardts. They're going together. They're not spilling out. Flip is kind of leading the way, getting that scouting information and trying to push something through. But they're going to manage to get a touch here soon, you'd imagine, using this bridge as the second checkpoint.
Sunset doesn't even care about Soul. It's like, well, whatever, he can shoot me. I don't care. I'm getting onto the payload. Got to play the objective right. Now, it's also good to note that Crazy is off of the Labula onto the Neon. It's seeming like this, the new healer is really coming into the meta at this point. The invincibility ultimate sometimes can be really, really clutch. But Mr. Destroy, he doesn't even care, healer or not. He's going to mow you down individually while being pocketed by Crazy. This, Jabali is doing so much work. And the cards as well. They're just funneling it all the way. 4 players alive for crying out loud. Soul getting super deep.
They might not get the touch here.
Hey, look, despite everything, right, Crazy's healer, I think that is a all-star performance once again coming out from him. Also being popped. What a flush, man. Round 2 ends after Cult. They struggled. I won't lie. They struggled at the start. But it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
Well, the Reinhardts were going for that 3 fight. They were trying to get 1 fight at the start, 1 fight under the bridge, and then the 3rd fight just on the last contest. But in that 2nd fight under the bridge, they let the cart push and kind of stagger out a little bit. And that means you don't get that 3rd fight, so the strategy just kind of goes out the window. It was a great idea from Reinhardts, and they needed to execute a little bit better, but I mean, you got to take your hat off. They didn't crumble after Cold. They could have crumbled pretty easily after that first map, but they came out swinging.
Well, that was a bit of a fast one, wasn't it, for our second map? We do get to go to Old Medina, but a stark contrast in many ways to what we saw, obviously, on Control on Alpha which was this tight back and forth, right down to the wire, nail-biting finish to really what ended up being a bit of a stomp, right? When you take into account the fact that they couldn't even get the opening point. They couldn't even extend it beyond that smash. That, in my mind, makes it a pretty one-sided affair. Credit to Aftercult. They responded pretty heavily after their loss. Yolo, you're a little bit surprised with how things played out here. What was a very short Browers dock?
I mean, that was rapid. I mean, none of them hit the checkpoint. Obviously, Aftercult didn't need to, but that was really well played. As soon as, I mean, they had a bit of a slow start for the first minute or so, but as soon as Del got that pick on Fates, who had been popping off so far that round, and then Mr. Destroy just went straight in as Jabali, got that first team wipe, and they just, the momentum, they just carried that the entire way through, and a couple of team wipes, as you were saying. I think it was a bit of a waste from WH there, dropping down from the bridge. You would think that's a great idea, but the Jabali and the Ruby ended up dying pretty early without as much DPS to get kills. They just plowed through that, and I'm just happy to see Old Medina, honestly. I mean, let's see how that goes. Let's see what comps we're seeing, and it'll be completely different, but good fun.
Yeah, happy to probably just see a series so far here in these qualifiers that is going to go the distance. That really, even heading into Old Medina, we've got no idea who's going to win this. I mean, you might now give some favoritism to Aftercult, considering how comprehensive the win was, especially considering that was also an escort mode as well, whereas Control was a completely different mode smash. So, I mean, you take into account the fact that they won that comfortably on payload. I think then that probably puts them as the favourites going into Old Medina. Yeah,
Aftercult are definitely riding a high, riding the momentum, but we'll have to see what they pick on this map. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, all right, let's go to the hero bands for Old Medina for the first time here in the qualifiers here for T3 Arena League, and we are heading in. It is going to be the Neon once again, as we saw earlier on. The Gatlin does also get banned out. This does allow the Johnny Jet through, though.
Yeah, it does indeed, and Aletta to boot, Osis to boot. Old Medina is a very big map, but look, because we haven't really seen a lot in pro play, I don't actually think it'll be that consequential to see these two heroes being banned out just yet. So, like Yolo was saying at the very start, right, it's like a two-pronged kind of a play style. First, you have to play Control, so maybe you would allude back to how skirmishy and how brawly it was on Alpha and Dastana, and then when it's just the payload escort, that's when things change up yet again. So this is going to be very, very diverse. So I don't think the hero bans actually matter that much currently.
We say that. We wanted some variety, but YOLO, that last map was basically a mirror match, and it was pretty much similar composition to what we saw on Alpha. We saw the Ruby and the Jabali, we saw the Aletta, the Ulsus. Like, it didn't really change all that much.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, instead of Gatlins, we just saw Osas, which I'm sure we'll see now as Digital mentioned, and we'll see Aletta's for sure. But, I mean, Gatlin is so strong on Old Medina, so her going away is a great thing for most people. I think they will be happy about that. But, honestly, it's just a bit of an interesting situation here, because obviously Aftercult are in the back of a win, a massive win. Maybe they thought that they would have won the Control as well, so their morale is on an all-time high. Reinhardts have just been swept pretty considerably there, so hopefully we'll see them maybe pluck up their mental and see how that goes for them. But it's all comp dependent. You've not got a Neon, so you'll see a Labula, you might see a Sindri on defense here, but it's just who can get that first pick the easiest will prove really helpful.
Certainly so. All right, let's head into the final map of this second semi-final. It is 1-1. It is a best of 3 going towards the final map for the first time in the qualifiers. Can't wait to see how this one is going to play out and see who will make it to the season finals and who potentially has to go through the wildcard series. It's Reinhardt's, it's After Cold. Let's head into Old Medina.
Ben, I gotta say, coming out from After Colt right now in this matchup, it is an all-star performance from everyone on the team. Dell, he's lighting off ridiculous shots. Soul is playing out of his mind. Crazy, once again, living up as one of the best healers I've seen thus far. Polos, good support in terms of shield. He's just a good foundation for a team to play off of. And Mr. Destroy, god damn.
Yeah, Mr. Destroy did pop off on that last map. Heavily carrying that offense. Well, that defense, I should say. The offense was a little bit riskier, but that tends to happen on the Jabali when you're kind of anchored onto that cart the whole time. This is going to be Dell, though. They need to activate Dell, get Dell in positions to pop off. With these longer sight lines, it's going to be so brutal.
Oh, hold up.
We do some rest on the Johnny Jet. Opening things up onto Soul, and Soul's going to have a harder time as well here, because Johnny Jet and Aletta on the enemy team are going to be able to kind of mark them a little bit harder. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more passive playstyle out of Soul, trying to get a little bit more tank busting, a little bit more information. We do see Reinhardt's going down pretty low as Santi's getting dropped down too on the cart. Very low HP pools on the side of Aftercold, but now going to get healed up. Can't heal a dead player, so picks going their way is going to be very important. The positions are kind of been flipped around a little bit, and the pushes are going to come through. Santi does heal up, get crazy. Flip mentioned out, Santi gets a double, but Fates on that Osus has got a little angle here, a nice little angle.
Oh my goodness, and to boot as well, I was trying to say that I was watching the control bar fill up. It's actually crazy how quickly it fills up, also how quickly it empties as well. So the defense, I think, is super important, at least for the first checkpoint. But Mr. Destroy, he's going to leap on there. He's so low, though. That smoke getting popped down by Osus. Mr. Fate just basically eliminates him, chipping away at his health as well. Hard shot to hit. Don't really expect Fate to get anything done here, but that's the payload coming out of the ground, and finally we enter the second phase of Old Medina after Colt. They're really struggling a little bit on defense. It looked good initially, though. I'll give them that. Yeah,
Fates did get on that high ground position and was just like, had no answer really. Knew that Dell was out of the match because won that 1v1, and there's nothing really else to pressure Fates out, so that's going to be an important one.
Well, YOLO, as we have the game extended a little bit. What's so far?
I mean, obviously they've done the control very quickly. That's
door.
very normal.
No.
It's all about.
Sorry, I'll carry on. I just got excited over a door closing.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm right, mate.
Yeah, so it's so I mean, they did that control very quickly and consistently, but it's now about getting to the next checkpoint because this 4.5 minutes is huge. Because you can often see it. There's a massive stalling here. So I'll just let you go onto this because it's very intense.
Oh my goodness, Dell as well. For the longest time, he was staying alive. I was amazed that Fates couldn't land a shot on him. And then right after Trot, he finds a couple of nutty shots, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day as his teammates do fall, unfortunately. This push, it's going a little bit too easily, I would say, for the Reinhardts. So it does concern me a little bit. A post up again towards high ground angles. A smoke is deployed, but I think it really comes off of Dell. He has to start the engagement as teammates. Oh, might be struggling a little bit. He goes up high. Fate snipes him out of the air. Clay pigeon shooting this payload. Someone get on it.
Yeah, that's the key duel, the Fates versus Dell duel. You can see the kills. When Dell's getting those kills and in a nice position, it's so easy for the side of Aftercold. But when it breaks out and kind of losing track, Dell goes down again to Fates. Fates is starting to win that 1v1 over and over again. That's going to stall things out. Aftercold, they're not going to be able to push this card if they don't have Fate alive to give them, or contest this card, when they don't have Fate alive to kind of even things up or provide that high ground advantage. The Oasis is so strong in this map. There's so many nice high grounds where you can just see everything.
Indeed, indeed. And not only that as well, before they hit that checkpoint for a second, I think after Cold, that really was the position to hold it down before Reinhardt gets too deep. But I guess overall, right now for Old Medina, the strategy for After Cold might have to shift from defense to just like a buying time and just betting that they can actually push it in less of the time that Reinhardt can thus far. But look, this is going a little bit too rapidly. There's not much contention at all coming up from After Cold here and there, sure. So let's just see how it plays out a little bit more. But everyone, they're waiting for a respawn. And maybe Reinhardt might be in a bit of a pinch here as they up 1-2 front. once. Fates, yet again, starts it off onto Del. Mrs. Destroy goes down. Saul gets a clap back, but still back and forth. And if anything, is after Colts on the receiving end of most of the damage. This is unsustainable.
Certainly is. That Fates versus Delta is so very important. And last 3 times, Fates has won that out, and it's led to a fight victory. The Aletta on the side of Aftercold, there's just too many answers. The Johnny Jet plus the Aletta being able to chase them down, flush them out. You see now Johnny Jet getting into the back lines, gets taken out by Del. Del needs to get this room to work with. That's so many things to watch out for. Team now starting to go through together. Del gets taken out by Fates again, but Flip does get taken out by Crazy, so it is even numbers. And on the point, Santi is spinning up, and it's doing a lot of work to keep this push going. Fates gets Polos, and you can see now the angles coming through. Amazing work here from the side of the Raihards. A long distance, but it is going to get contested, and the spawns now do start to favor the side of Aftergold.
This final choke point is going to be ridiculous, though. But just as I say that, Saul misses Destroy. They managed to shut down crucial players of the Raihards, and this push has been halted for the time being. 3 minutes 40. Has to be where Aftercold manages to make their final stand. And also to boot as well, Mrs. Destroy, he's off of the tank. They've abandoned that completely. Yep. Rather switch to the Sindri and just play within those gates.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard nut to crack as these gates. I'll hop on like a broken record, but Del went from 6-1 to 7-7, and that's
ridiculous.
Kind of the key to what that push was. Now it's starting to get their mojo back into it, into this defensive position. It's going to be very hard to push through. Soul gets taken out though.
Oh, wow.
Still not enough firepower, not enough pressure here for the side of Raihards to push through. Santi is going to start to move up on towards that payload.
The Raihards know they have like 3 minutes to push this, right? And just wait for everyone to respawn, regroup before you go for like a concentrated push. Ultimate's about to come online as well. Eyes on Flip, Santi as well. But on the flip side, for Aftercold, Polos is holding on to his own ulti, close range quarters combat. That thing is going to be deadly. Misses Destroy, the exact same story as well. I think that Sindri pick is actually mega clutch, and it's funny to see it out. Variation towards the final stages of Old Medina. Finally, another fight. Eyes on Polos. Santi does actually manage to get behind him a little bit, though. It's getting a little bit brutal. Pops the ulti, doesn't manage to get anything out of it. Santi getting healed back up to full HP. It's blow for blow, but it's actually Fates and Rest. They get the upper hand. Raihards, this is going to be them pushing it through the gates. Crazy on site now as Skadi, but I don't think he can do too much as her. That's the main issue. Everyone else out of the spawn just trying to fight on for dear life. 7 meters to go. This is going to be an all-out brawl. Fate on high ground. Spines a shot onto Del. The healer is gone. Soul falls. This should be the final push. But the spawn once again, Ben, it's so close.
Yeah, Fate's got a perfect high ground position there just to absolutely annihilate people as they were coming out of those spawn doors. And hero play on, for me, Santi, if they can manage to close this out, this is everyone's getting very, very low. The picks aren't really going their way. Del gets taken out. There's still 4v1 on the cart. They need to push it through. Last second contest comes through. Mr. Destroy alone without any mates. Fate gets another pick off there. Rest finishes it off, so they will finish the map. But Santi moving over there to isolating themselves, causing so much attention to be drawn to them, kind of opened up all of the room for the DPS to come in the back. And Santi didn't get punished for it. Santi didn't get it taken down. So that opened up that gate push because everyone got distracted. They wanted to go finish off Santi. They wanted to go push him out, but he lived.
I have to say, though, I think the mega clutch player there was Zoros. He was off of the payload so far, outside the gates as well, shooting his heals non-stop. Everyone, as long as they stuck around the payload, they got full heals, and that's what allowed Raihards to stay alive for so long, despite the continuous fast respawns coming out from Aftercold. YOLO, 7 minutes 23, man. That's going to be pretty doable, I got to say.
Well, I mean, this is the thing with this map. 7 minutes 23, that's a decent time. I mean, you saw how much of a choke point you get at the end there, and honestly, I've seen like 9-10 minute times for a round, so this is definitely difficult for Aftercold to hit. But I think it was just huge, that OSAS gameplay. That was a massive 1v1, but I think I've got to give credit to Santi, because Santi with that Jabali played amazingly that entire game. At the start, he didn't die once barely until the first checkpoint and the second checkpoint. And then throughout that second bit, he timed his ults really well. He baited the Ruby ult, and I mean, he just played amazingly.
Santi definitely creating a lot of space for Fates to pop off on that round, and it's kind of the key to success, it seems, on this map, as the Osis has just everything to work with, really. You saw some amazing numbers coming out there from Fates in particular. Del had a pretty good showing on the upper hand in the first portion of the map, standing pretty strong, but As soon as that 1v1 started going the way of Fates, just because of that better positioning, it was pretty hard to come back into it. Flip gets taken out on the side of the Reinhardts first up, so already an absolute dumpstering going all the way. After Colt, they are not happy with giving up the map push. They want it for themselves.
Holy, after Colt, just spanking Reinhardts off of the site, and that's a full-on site cap right off the bat. Payload up in record time, I would say. That's under a minute, if I'm reading this correctly. And also to boots as well. I really think that maybe on the attack side now, Dell, this is his time to shine. It's just the nature of the beast. You know, when you're on defense, you're too focused on other plays, what's happening on the payload, but it does allow the attackers, Osis, to really pinpoint and pick out plays without anyone focusing on.
A letter in the side rooms coming through as well. It's going to be a key one to go through, because that's going to enable Osises to come through. Flip, he's going to win that one once more. Need to start to stall out this card though. Can't let it push too far. Santi gets taken down by Crazy. This is very, very even, Digi, and with that door closing though, it does kind of give the defense a little bit of a reprieve. Shuts down a few more angles.
Yes, it does indeed. Now the payload's out in a rather safe
position, actually.
Location. Yeah, that is true indeed. They would have to fun out from the sides, but it's really about Reinhardts having to establish a rock-solid defense coming out now. Mrs. Destroys on the objective, but Flip is also behind the enemy lines. Soul goes down to Santi. It's not a good start. Polo's is low as well. This attack might be a little bit staggered and troubled. They've lost their source of heals. Mrs. Destroy holding on for dear life, but it's a matter of time before he gets mown down. But you know what? Despite all that, he actually managed to push it a couple of meters.
Yeah, they did kind of get it out of that, well, pressed up against the door area, which is good. And Fates was playing from the ground there, actually. I was expecting to see Fates on a high ground, kind of looking over things, but did start off down with the tanks. Getting that protection. See more Johnny Jet shenanigans, blocking off that choke point completely, basically. Mr. Destroy's going to come in, punish them, though. Rest getting taken out, and with Soul taking down Flip as well. This is going to start off the fight. Two-man advantage. They're going to have to try and buy as much time as they can on the card. It does push a little bit as Santi goes down. Fate gets cleaned up, and that is going to be pretty much a clean wipe.
It's so convincing when After Colt have the full team on board, isn't it? Like, these fights look almost so one-sided, and Reinhardt's, like, the defense is really falling apart. If anything, they're struggling to maintain, like, a rock-solid wall to prevent After Colt from pushing the payload through. The first checkpoint about to come through underway. I just want to see how much time they get extra on top, though. Right, they're leaping onto the site. Mrs. Roy pops his ulti, but Santi to get the better of him. Crazy goes down as well. Flip is dead off of a pick of Dell initially, but After Colt, they've received the brunt of the damage. They've lost all their tanks. That is a last stand coming through from the Reinhardts, and that's like checkpoint just out of reach.
Such an important place to win a fight too. Dell might get staggered here as well if they manage to find them, which does seem they have.
Ooh.
It's very important that this stagger does happen though. They do trade, but rest on that. Johnny Jet isn't going to be too upset about that. That's another 20 seconds-ish brought off the clock. They have to kind of regroup on the side of After Colt. But this is a good place to win the fight, because now you can see that there's a room for the Aletta and the Johnny Jet to kind of get in on that backline. So this is going to be very difficult for them to take this point. It might cost them a lot of time on the clock if they can get the right angles. But you see, they're kind of getting pushed into a narrow little chokehold. They're getting pushed into a corner here on the side of the Reinhardts. This is not what they want at all.
No, sorry, but they have to win these fights. Faces are up top, trying to duel it out. Polo. Dell actually manages to snipe him. It's the rolls, but reversed. Yeah, now the signs are changed. Rest is about to go down. Flip as well, holding on for dear life. Once again, another regroup coming out from After Colt, and they're just doing so much work. They just have to get the payload, though, to a vital point, because before the defenders manage to jump onto it. Yes, it does get to the payload. 4 minutes 36 to push it, though. Time, I feel, is a little bit tight.
Time is definitely tight, but it's amazing that they got pushed into that little corner. I didn't think that was going to be able to happen. They're going to win the fight back here, just as the door closes as well. So this is another decent position to hold, but they need to bite off. It's just enough, because the spawn is so very close. They are going to get put down by that door. Yeah, exactly. They needed to be on their side of the door. Overstayed their welcome just a little bit there. Mr. Destroy now does need to play a little bit more passive and heal up, but these stagger kills are going to come out. That's Fates on the ground, I believe. Again. Yep. So this is starting to become a bit of a theme, and the stagger's going to come through. They're getting a little bit of push here, but they only have about 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes to go to get this full cap.
Yeah, well, Afterburner is engaged on the payload. It has to go lightning quick right now. They don't have much time to play through this, and if anything, this final stand coming out from the Reinhardts, like, it better be getting demolished real quick by Aftercall, otherwise they might just lose purely on time. Alright, let's just see how things play out. I feel we're focused on Dell at this point. The first kill, it has to be kind of crucial here. 1v1s thus far, but it gets lesser. This is the worst possible matchup you could want. The communications are super clear, though. There goes Soul onto the matter at hand ASAP. It's a bit of a brawl, a bit of a skirmish, but no one's getting the better of anyone. Face picks off Dell. It's a massive frag. Polos is onto Zoros. Blow for a blow, though. No one's really on top at all, but the payload is not getting pushed. That's the main focus. This is strugglesome.
This certainly is. Flip is doing God's work at the moment on that defense, trying to contest out that cart and push it through. You saw that Fade's got taken out early in the fight again as well, being on the floor, but did manage to get Dell before they went down. That's kind of the surprising thing is Fate's positioning here. It does like to play on the ground behind the tanks with the support. Not using those high ground angles. But this is where Reinhardts have really struggled in this 5v5 engagement. And we see again, they're getting all chunked down so very low. Mr. Destroy opens up the account on the fight. Oh boy. And Santi going down as well, very low. And this card's starting to push in. They're not going to be able to do the hard chokehold. It is going to be 5 players or 4 players up at least from the side of Aftercult here, trying to push this in. What are the spills? What are the staggers going to look like? It's so close on the clock. They need to buy a minute's worth of time.
They need Crazy as well to respawn ASAP, get the labial healers on point because they can't get enough passive healing from the payload. The spawn's right there and they just get mown down. They've made it through the choke point. It's through the gate now. But this is when things get super, super difficult. Polo's staying alive for a little bit longer. Who is the other player? I missed out. Soul falls. 2 minutes, 2 meters to go. And they have just under 20 seconds now to push it through. I don't know if this can be done, Ben.
They've stabilized on the side of the Reinhardts.
Oh no.
It's not pretty at all. This has been an absolute slugfest, but it does seem it will all come down to this one last hurrah.
Oh no.
And they're getting poked down so very hard on the side of Reinhardts. They're holding tight, but they're dropping low as well on the point.
Oh, 1 more second. Oh no, it's just done in the nick of time. They're fighting tooth and nail though, but I still have to hand that to Aftercall every single time they regroup. Look at how convincing the team fights are. Just 9 seconds under the payload time. But remarkable from Aftercult. Goodness gracious me. YOLO, you were not kidding. 7 minutes is nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, all of these games have been really close, bar the Browse Dog game, and I mean that was just ridiculous. It just shows how much of a choke point that was because they looked like they were plowing through so ridiculously quickly until they was just stuck there for 3 minutes, and it's just it's just old Medina for you. We've got to see it now. I'm glad people are being able to see it for the finals and whatnot, but that it's just it's just well played. And you've got the 1v1 engagements there. Santi did that amazing double kill at the start of the second checkpoint there with the Jabali, which saved about a minute, I would say. And that would have cost them the game, really, if they and that Dell staggering and whatnot. So it's just really good, really well played by Reinhardts, but I'm sure we're going to see Aftercult in the finals through the wildcards.
What an incredibly fascinating and fun and thrilling series here for our second semi-final. 9 seconds shy. Incredible. The match really, I think really that last 9 seconds is personifying really what this series was about. You go back to control map smash and how close that was at 99% to 0, then up to 100%. And then you think about the fact that obviously even on Browse Dock, it was a little bit more one-sided on Browse Dock, but it was still a bit of a struggle before that first checkpoint. But Old Medina lived up to the billing, lived up to the hype, and I feel like really finalized this series in the best way possible, right down to the wire. Started on Alafidistania.
It was definitely a fitting send-off for the series, and we saw that Osa's power was really the difference, especially on that first round. Fates was able to get a big upper hand, and that was kind of the difference maker. If Fates didn't have such a big pop-off and such a big differential, maybe that wouldn't be the 9 seconds they'd be up in their hands. And Dell did answer back pretty well on their attacking round, but I think Fates' attacking round was just too powerful.
When it comes down to 9 seconds digital, there's probably lots of little things you could nitpick and say, well, if we did this, or if we did this, or that happened. I mean, you can't really get yourself too much caught up in that mindset. You kind of just have to realize, okay, this was a close one, didn't quite go our way, bit of a coin flip in the end. We've got to go play wild cards, but we know that we're not that far off a team obviously, like Ryhard's going into the season finals, like, you know you're right there neck and neck with them.
I reckon we are going to see Aftercult actually into the final stage at this point, and I think Ben is right after all. It had to have been Fates, just those crucial few picks. That's what bought them the 9 extra seconds. Because if you draw back to the first half, right, when Ryhards were attacking, it took them 2 tries. That's precious time to get the payload to rise up out of the ground. But for Aftercult, it was almost instantaneous. And every single team fight, Aftercult was super convincing.
Yeah.
But the thing about Aftercult is that every time it was a 5-on-5 engagement, you know, they started off 5v5, they looked so much stronger than Ryhards. Ryhards just had a little bit better execution in the post-fight, in the scrappy moments, they were a little bit ahead, but every time Aftercult managed to group up, they showed amazing teamwork and being able to execute those 5v5 fights.
Both semi-finals finished, finalized. Let's go to the bracket and see where we now sit after essentially 3 days play. Dodgers and Ryhards into the grand final here for the qualifiers. They are both off to the season finals, of course. Both will be going through. It's now just a matter of seeding. That's really all it is. But YOLO, a fascinating game between these two, of course, coming up, I believe, tomorrow. For Dodgers, probably being the favorites in all of their matches. They go up against now, I think, a pretty formidable opponent in Ryhards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously Dodgers have gone flawless. They've not lost a game yet. Obviously Ryhards have had their struggles, and I think Aftercut will be looking at those games being like, hang on, we won Browsdog more easily than Ryhards won Control and Old Medina. So they're going to be thinking, well, we've definitely got it in us to win. But I think Ryhards are going to take off of this. They're going to watch the replays, watch what Dodgers did. Dodgers are going to watch what Ryhards have done, and I think it's going to be a crazy game. I don't think it's going to be a flawless from Dodgers. I think there's definitely going to be a bit of Old Medina, if that's what the best of 3 is. And yeah, I mean, it's just going to be great stuff. And obviously you've got Battle of the Snipers, Battle of the Letters, the JJs, the tanks. It's going to be great stuff.
Do we sense any kind of impact of hiding strats in what is essentially a seeding grand final, Ben? Obviously, it's not like it's a grand final that's going to determine who gets more money, who places higher. It is just seeding. If you're Ryhards, do you go in and give 110%, or do you save a few things? Do you play it differently? Or do you just go and say, hey, let's see if we can beat these guys?
Nobody wants to lose, and I think that there will be or could be a patch coming in between now and those big grand finals. With both of the teams qualified for that, it's kind of just pointless to hide strats. Just go out there, play your best, get the win, and then all of a sudden you're on a high. You're leaving on a high as well.
Yep.
Important for team morale and team chemistry.
Certainly is. Well, in terms of morale for our viewers, hopefully it's going to go up, because we're going to be handing out again the code that you can input and get some goodies down below. It should be popping up shortly. There it is. Pop that one in. It can only be entered in, of course, and successful while this broadcast is still live. So make sure you get that inputted as soon as possible, so you can get your goodies at the end of this broadcast. Now, of course, for those watching on, we've got ourselves a bit of a viewer survey in the chat. If you can obviously help us out, fill that out, and let us know how you're sort of finding things, that would be certainly amazing here for T3 Arena. We're getting towards the end of the broadcast here, end of the day, boys. We'll start to wrap things up. We'll go to YOLO first, our lovely friend on the tally. It's been a great day, probably the best day, I think, so far, through the 3 days that we've had the qualifiers. We got Old Medina. We got a best of 3 that went the distance. You've got to be pretty happy with how things played out.
Yeah, definitely really happy there. Both the games are great, but obviously that second match was huge. It being so close, and just the entertainment there that I'm sure the viewers would have seen, that makes them want to play the game, that makes them want to play ranked, get into comp. Yep. I mean, and I'm just sure that seeing that in the 5v5 state and seeing how well it can work, as we've just seen with the different comps, and how crucial the bans can be to debating whether a team's going to win or not, and it's just really nice to see, honestly. I'm looking forward to the finals and obviously the grand finals that are going later next month, but it's going to be amazing.
Ben, it was great to have you back on. You'll be back tomorrow as well. You had a lot of fun today?
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic to see. I mean, previously I'd seen the 3v3 version of the game, and that was fun, and it was exciting, it was fast, but you can really see in the 5v5 there's more room for teamwork and cohesion and communication as well. It's so much more important in this 5v5 version. It looks great, it plays great, and I mean, there were some fantastic games today, and tomorrow's going to be hard to pick. Yeah,
I mean, Digital, you're back tomorrow as well. I mean, you probably left, though, with the fire in the gut after that last series. You're probably pumped, ready to go for tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely, man. between Dodgers and Reinhardts, like Ben said, you can't really pick which one's which. Dodgers, I mean, their team chemistry is just unreal. Reinhardts, though, they're living up to the occasion, to say the very least. So it will definitely be a clash of the Titans. But for me, most of all, I just want to see more old Medina, man. It's so versatile and diverse. And I think it really puts teams to their absolute limits.
Yeah, certainly. So, all right, that's going to be us concluding here, day number 3 of the qualifiers. Obviously, we've had a couple of teams go through to the season finals. Dodgers and Reinhardts, they'll be doing battle tomorrow, of course, to determine their seeding as to where they will place for the season finals. Make sure you tune in once again, same time tomorrow.
Like the roads, if we dream it, believe it, we'll fall into wonder. Walk with me, talk with me for a little bit. Let's get into it. Walk with me, high times, low key, a minute down. Lay back, afternoon chills. Eastside dads getting lost in stories. Sunbathe watches and stills. It's for freedom, a kingdom so weightless and tender. Chasing it at our own pace. Cast a cat, it will be okay. Give and take, never hesitate. One by one, we keep on coming. Walk with me, talk with me for a little bit. Let's get into it. Talk with me, walk with me, talk with me, walk with me, talk with me, for a little, just a little bit.
I'm doing it wild like that.